Well, we are back, huh? We're back at the 9 Club, everybody. Today, we have a very special guest. Mr. Bod Boyle is with us.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bro, you look great.
On the outside.
Oh.
The inside's kind of messed up.
Is it? No, bro. You're looking, bro.
come on.
Mentally, physically, what are we talking? A little bit of both?
You know, I'm getting up there in age.
No,
body,
you don't look a
aren't
day
we
over
all?
30.
That's what I'm saying. On the outside,
Yeah.
dodgy,
I'm sure
dodgy-
if you shaved completely, like bicked your face,
Yeah.
you know, little baby over there.
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
But we're all, as we get older, we deal with the build-up of all of those years.
I know.
No
Trust
doubt.
me.
Bumps and bruises or whatever.
Yeah, yep. What's your ailment? Do you have an ailment? Do you
I have
wake
a
up out
couple
of bed?
I have a couple of dodgy ones. Main one, really bad right knee.
Right knee.
Blew out my knee way back.
Okay.
Long time ago, like over 25 years ago.
Ah.
Blew it out, dislocated it, ACL pop,
Ooh.
tore the meniscus,
Jeez.
As many of my skateboarding friends, as myself, I didn't really take care of it. So went to the emergency room, got the brace put on, never went back to the
That's
doctor.
it.
Never
No
went,
way.
never went back to the doctor.
Wow.
What did you start? Did you skate after that too?
Well, I couldn't really walk for like 2 or 3 months, but I was like, I'll get better. And I just, that was right when I'd stopped traveling and skating and just started working.
Okay.
So I was going into the office.
Mm.
So knee's been bad. So I had that surgery then, but they basically just took all the cartilage, all the meniscus out. I've been bone on bone for 25 years. So I have degenerative bone wear in my right knee,
Oh, man.
which basically just means any impact just swells up.
Good God. Was
So-
this around like you were getting out of skating, going into like work at Giant?
This was pre-Giant. This was
Pre-Giant.
NHS. So I'd been riding for Santa Cruz for many years,
Yeah.
and then was transitioning over into working there. Well, actually, was fully working when I blew my knee out, but it was a lunchtime. Me, Jeff Kendall, Russ Pope, lunch break,
Wow.
jump on the mini ramp. Just, as you do, you hurt yourself when you're messing around, right?
Yep.
Just ollied over the hip, was going to hang up, stepped off backwards and just sat on my knee, folded my leg.
Oh, my goodness.
And that hurt.
God.
But what was kind of awesome was Russ and, I was like instant cold sweat, right? So Russ and Jeff picked me up and put me on the side of the ramp
Okay.
and then left me there for half an hour.
Perfect. They continue to skate.
Sesh. Continue the sesh.
Yeah.
carried on skating.
Wow.
It's fine. And I'm just sitting there like, And then after a while, they're like, are you all right? And I'm like, no. And then they were like, oh, maybe we should get some ice. I'm like, yep.
Oh,
Wow.
now get the ice.
Now get the ice. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was just went and like I sort of sat on my board and they pushed me over to Kendall's office and I laid on the floor there.
What you do?
I just laid there. Like it was really bad.
Yeah.
And then he drove me. I left my car at work and he drove me over the hill to San Jose. And I remember I crawled up into my apartment. It was up one flight. And I waited for my girlfriend, my wife now, my girlfriend at the time to come home. And she's like, what are you doing? Go to hospital. And I was like, okay. And they,
Yeah, because that's the skateboarders. We just do not go to the hospital.
no.
Yeah.
And then short story, I didn't really take care of it. Kind of walked around for months, kept on popping out.
Mm.
And then after like 4 or 5 months of it just not working, I was like, all right. I went to a proper knee specialist, a really good guy.
Okay.
A good soccer knee doctor in Stamford, found a good one. Went in, Dr. Treeb, that was his name.
Mm.
Went in and he like laughed at me and was like, ACL, when do you want to get it done? Like, boom. Like 7 days later, went in,
Okay.
opened, local anesthetic.
Mm.
Not even.
They
a
didn't
knockout.
even-
Wow.
Local anesthetic. They reshaped the inside of my knee joint because it was kind of
What were you
V-shaped.
doing during this time? Were you just like reading a magazine or
No,
something? Watching
I was
TV?
kind of.
What
I
were
was
you-
kind of listening to a little Hammer and Chisel at one point.
Oh my
Wow.
God, that
Which
would
was
drive
weird.
me fucking
Definitely.
But
crazy.
then he like cut out the cartilage and lifted it up. I was like, hey, this is what was making your knee lock. It was a big ball of cartilage that had just like rolled up and was stuck in my knee. It was pretty brutal. So like it was like looking back on it, it was pretty gnarly. And then they give you a video of the knee surgery.
After
Yeah,
they film it,
it was all filmed.
did you have a video part of your knee surgery?
I have a video of part of my knee surgery. You can see the little screws going in afterwards. But anyway, whatever. I have a bad knee.
Fuck.
Was it on a VHS tape?
It is on a VHS.
Oh,
I've
nice.
got it. I actually have it
We gotta
somewhere.
digitize it.
Yeah, you got to digitize it, put it on YouTube.
Yeah,
Bod Boyle's
Wow.
knee video part.
exactly.
New shit.
But that, I think not taking care of it properly at that point didn't really help.
Waiting
Being
that 4 months, you think, really?
Yeah, I don't think I did myself any favors. And then bone on bone for, almost 25 years now.
Yeah.
It's just worn down. I just get a lot. So running, jumping, it's hard, man. Anything that has any sort of impact like that, it just boom, swells up. So whatever. I'll deal with it.
Okay. I mean, that's tragic, bro. That's tragic.
That-
Yeah, but you haven't tried to do anything else. They got the I don't know what it is. They
can
growing cartilage
I was
inside
told I
of
was
you.
too old for
That's-
that, but I want to revisit that because I've read recently there's
You
a whole
should.
bunch of new processes or whatever.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
3 years ago it was really bad, and I went and I changed a lot of things about 3 years ago. I mean, honestly, simple: 20 to 24 minutes of stretching every morning, ride the bike, world of difference.
Definitely.
Absolutely, just keep it stable and strong.
Okay.
World of difference. But if I run or jump or ride,
You're bone on bone.
it just balloons up the next day. Like I'll ride and then 12 hours later, balloon.
Wow. Yeah, you should revisit that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've definitely heard a lot of those.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. It's
I don't
like
know why, because I had done to my hip.
PRP. What is it?
Oh, when they chip or into the bone, it bleeds out and turns into cartilage.
Yeah.
Is that like spracking for some reason?
Spracking?
I don't know. I can't remember what the name is.
I don't know
Technical.
either. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah. Something like that.
Look into that.
But there's
though.
there's new stuff that they're
Sure.
doing. So,
Definitely new
we'll,
stuff
we'll
for
see.
sure.
And every year, what used to be hospital stays is now outpatient surgery.
Right.
That's so true.
You know.
Like you were saying, I mean, that was a inpatient. Well, I mean, they did it with you.
Yeah, I was
anesthetic.
awake. He was talking to me.
Exactly.
I mean, I was out of it.
They
for
give you like
sure.
a spinal or something, or like just like a shot, like
there was
you're gonna get
stuff
your tooth,
going in all
like a
over the
regular
place.
Yeah, like you're gonna get your little tooth done.
I mean, I was-
Novocaine.
I mean, I was out of it. I didn't feel
okay.
a thing.
Okay.
But he was talking. I remember bits of the surgery.
That's
you know.
brutal. I watch these botched shows, with the reconstruction when they hit the doing nose and they hit the hammer on the.
You hear that and see
Oh
it,
my
it's just like
God! I
You know,
run
as
into
I'm
that in
getting
the
older,
room crying.
I can't watch people slamming anymore.
Does it?
Don't watch
gets
the
to me
zero
now.
video.
Right.
But does it? When you see somebody slam on a skateboard, for me, it goes through my whole body. Like I can feel it through my whole body. It's
Yeah.
painful for me.
Yeah, I don't have the need. I literally don't have the need to see it. I've seen enough of it.
You don't have the knee.
I don't have the need.
Oh, the
Or
need.
I don't have the
think
need.
so.
It sounds like
I think so. You don't have the knee. Yeah.
No, I don't have the need anymore.
Right.
I mean, I don't really get enjoyment out of it like I used
I mean, listen.
Right.
These days too, these slams are brutal.
to. Oh,
I don't think I've ever got enjoyment out of seeing somebody slam.
No.
No.
Especially in person.
Yeah.
That stuff's watching you, even when they don't fall
Oh.
and they almost fall, you're like, ah, like,
Yeah.
Listen, some slams are funny, but
not when
true.
people are getting hurt though.
no.
No, not when they're getting
It's
hurt.
especially when you can actually relate to it in
Yeah.
a certain way. Not that I would ever jump down what people are doing. I didn't do that. Wasn't me.
Right.
But I'm saying just the revisiting of the pain. You know,
Yeah, of course.
I had a few of them.
I definitely I feel it shocking through my whole body when I see
Yeah.
somebody slam. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
this jarring feeling.
dude, you know,
Like you pity your stomach almost. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Do you know
like
who's
it's
a
happening to
Envision
me.
You can envision being in those shoes.
It's happening to me, Dubs.
Mhm.
who Alex Midler, I don't know if you watched him at like contests or even when he skate in the streets. That dude is a warrior.
Bro.
He takes the gnarliest slams and just gets back up and just keeps going.
The street league that I did in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Everybody-
Demolished himself and got back up in 20 minutes and was
Super.
skating the fucking contest.
Super.
But so many people now.
It's crazy.
The level. I mean, then you get into the level of where skateboarding is at right now. It's just
Crazy.
It's
unbelievable.
mind blowing.
It is really.
Can it get bigger? Can people go further?
It can.
I think
I
so.
mean, it
for
will.
sure.
It does.
Yeah. It will.
It always does.
It
does.
always does.
Always does. I mean,
Yeah.
It hasn't let us down yet.
yeah.
I mean, look at the learning curve, though, now. Learning curve, like what they're seeing now to learn how to skate. I mean, they're doing tricks downstairs before they could even ollie the stairs properly, before they could even push.
I know.
Again.
And I think it's how crazy, how consistent they are doing them.
Yeah.
You know, like Nigel doing switch heel front lip down a rail every single try. Not like tries 30 tries and lands it once. He does 30 tries and lands it 30 times.
Oh,
yeah,
my
it's
God.
unbelievable.
It's wild, yeah.
What was the dude? Front three. What was it? Front three, back to what?
Oh, front 360 to front side no
Front
slide.
side nose slide, pretty much.
This past weekend at that contest.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah.
Psycho.
Yeah.
I saw that. I had to rewind it on Instagram.
Wait,
Well, I mean,
Rewound it.
every generation of skateboarding progresses so rapidly.
Big time.
Yeah.
You know, I think we can all relate to being young and the generation before, you're looking down and going, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And now we're like, for me, like 5 generations past that, 6 generations past that. I love it.
Well, let's talk about, speaking of skating progressing so fast, let's go back in time to when you started skating and you were doing all that. You were vert skater, right? And then we'll get into it also, but vert skating died pretty much. Street skating kind of took over, and that's maybe where you started to
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up
drift off.
I grew up in England, right?
Yeah.
So
What part?
London.
London.
Pretty central. So, West Hampstead, Kilburn area, northwest London.
Mm-hmm.
Where I grew up skating was, I got a skateboard in the mid 70s, so 76, 77.
Wow.
Got my first skateboard.
Really showing your
Sounds
age.
like- I'm exceptionally old. Exceptionally old. And that was like skateboard boom, woo. And there was a park near my house. Some kids there had built a ramp, and we would go down there and skate it. And that was like 77.
How big was the ramp?
It was probably 12 feet wide,
Okay.
probably like 7 or 8 foot transitions, no flat bottom, no decks, just like a U.
Vert?
Yeah.
Ah.
And then one summer they cut it in half and they pulled it apart, and then it wasn't a half pipe, it was a ramp. Because I was little,
Okay.
I was like 8, and I'd go skate the half pipe, and they'd hit me, go, it's not a half pipe, it's a ramp. Because it had flat bottom. And so that was really early. And then I remember going to the same place one day, and there was no one there all of a sudden. Everyone had stopped, and there literally was nobody. I didn't know anyone that skateboarded.
Wow.
This was like 78.
What, a couple of years after you started
Yeah,
skating?
yeah, like 2 years like that, like boom, and then just one day everyone was gone. And I was a little kid, I didn't really travel about, I only knew this place 5 minutes from my house. Skateboard sort of went away. It was there, I'd grab it, but it was really like 1980, 81 that me and 2 other friends from school, one person, my friend Crispin, a really good, rad dude, he showed up at this bar we used to go to on Saturday mornings to drink, as one does.
You said, wait.
Were you like 14 at the time?
I know. I was going to say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old.
14, no.
Okay. It was
14,
okay.
15.
It was okay then.
There was a place called Dingwalls in London. They would do live jazz music on Saturday mornings. And we would go there, and we'd all go in and we'd listen to the music, and it was a scene, right? It was just like, I don't know how we ended up there. It was a bunch of us, young kids. My friend Crispin shows up, and he had a brand new Madrid Mike Smith board. And it was this purple one with these circle graphics. And I was just like, whoa, I need to get my board out. I need to do that. So really, like, I had that little skateboarding moment in the sort of 70s, but it was like 1980, 81 that it was like just consumed me, right? Because then me, Crispin, Sam, just only people at our school that skated.
That was it.
And then we were going to Meanwhile, which is
yeah.
a skate park near us. There's Meanwhile 1 and Meanwhile 2, and we're going there. And we started to run, like, we didn't know other people skateboarded. Like, literally, we thought the skateboarding universe consisted of the 3 of us.
That's it.
I mean, literally.
No videos, no magazines, just you guys out
Nothing.
there doing it.
We
Amazing.
didn't know other people. And then we started running into people, and then we realized, oh, there's this shop, Alpine Action, which is like the last skate shop inside of London, in inner London.
Uh-huh.
And you realize, oh, there's a few people. There's like 15 people that skate. And you sort of link, and those were like magical moments, magical times.
Where were they skating?
They were. So we would go to like Meanwhile
Yep.
on like Sundays.
Meanwhile, by the way, is the Gonz Ollie.
The Gonzalo,
yeah,
exactly,
yep,
exactly,
yep, yep.
exactly. Broke my
Oh,
rib.
the banks.
The banks.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Now
sick.
people are nollie flipping them and shit.
I know,
Yeah.
it's so crazy. So
Malto.
crazy.
So crazy.
We can list injuries as we go. So I broke my wrist there, broke 2 of my fingers there.
Oh, wow.
That place.
Couple
Perfect.
injuries there.
A couple of ones there.
But wait a minute.
Mr.
Just
Glass
sorry.
over here.
What's that? Mr.
Glass.
Yeah.
No, but we started meeting. So we would go there, and there'd be just a couple of us, and then we would randomly 2 other people would be there, and then randomly you'd meet these little groups of people, and then suddenly we realised there's a little crew there, and then these guys are going, we're going to go to South Bank afterwards. Then like 81, early 82, we discovered there's a whole scene at South Bank, and a whole scene being there's like 15 dudes down there that skate on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
I mean, that's
All
huge,
from-
though, when you're
Yeah,
14 years old.
definitely.
Yeah, but it was so spread. This is all of London, population, tens of millions
Sure,
of
sure,
people,
sure,
and
sure.
there's like a handful of you that skate, and that was great. So we would go to.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you mean South Bank, do you mean like the actual skate spot or just like the area?
Well, the whole south bank of the river, there's lots of spots along there. You had Shell Centre, you had, South Bank, you had I can't remember the names of other spots down there that we would sort of ride around. But South Bank, as you think of South Bank, the banks under the hangover there,
Yeah.
was the main spot.
So that was just naturally just built there. That wasn't like
That was
built.
a car park.
Oh, okay.
It was covered parking for right there. You've got the Royal Festival Hall, which is like a big public venue for music and theatrical events and stuff, and then you got the National Film Theatre. It's a whole public space along there. So that technically is all public space, paid for by the taxpayers to be utilised. And that was the underground parking, basically, that was never used as parking.
And this is why that spot's so legendary. I mean, we're talking, what'd you say, early 80s.
I walked by there as a kid when I first got a skateboard in 76, 77. I saw people skating there. See? My eyes popped out of my head. Wow. I didn't even know where I was. I was just with my parents, right? But I remember seeing it and then going back there like 3-4 years later. And I mean, that place is special for so many reasons. One, that it's still being skated today. Yes. Two, that it had something to offer for every different generation of skateboarder. Definitely. From the banks to the stairs to the ledges to the bank to wall. Yeah. There was so much stuff there over many generations of skateboarding. That's truly great.
Yeah, you don't really see a spot like that pop up too often.
No, and another great story there in the fact that the city had major developments planned for that place. And the crew there that said, no, this is a public space. We're skateboarders. This is a historical place. And they beat the odds. You have big money trying to develop that place into a flipping shopping mall or something.
I was going to say, for sure.
Yeah. A small group of skateboarders that became a big group of skateboarders, and like respect to those guys.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
And they are I actually think they're a really good sort of model or case study for anyone around the world that has, these types of, needs to get out there and go, no, we want, this is a historical place, or it's not even that. It's a utilized place by public.
Right.
And so they actually, defied the odds there and came out on top.
Yeah, but that's just for what they wanted, bro. At the end of the day, it was a purpose for this place.
Yeah.
You know how funny that is if like the city builds this car park and it's just a bunch of banks and they're like, wait, you're telling us this is historical?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? For that they don't skate and they're like, what do you mean? But for skateboarders, it's like, it's
understand.
everything.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how you could try to explain that to the government and they're kind of like not seeing it the way you see it.
Well, which they did though, obviously.
Well,
and like being involved, going to probably city council meetings, petitions, like whatever they did.
They applied themselves for sure.
Right. Exactly.
But it also shows the power of the skateboarding community. Because they definitely got, when they definitely got, they raised the money. They kept on doing it. They did not give up. Yeah. They kept going.
They got us aware of it. I know via Instagram. They definitely got me to be like, wait, what's going on over there? Let me see what's up. And I definitely went to that website and checked it out. And
this was like a few years ago.
Yeah, this is definitely not.
It was a long process.
Right.
And it wasn't guaranteed, but it seems like in the last couple of years they've actually been able to like get more and more space back.
Slowly get away from it.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
So going back to the history there, so South Bank. Meanwhile, we just were like street skating, bank skating, just skateboarding. Yep. Right. And then, those days, you sort of did that. You looked up physically at the guys riding the ramps, and, we'd go to Crystal Palace and check it out. But I was always kind of like, that's cool, but I'm having fun over here. And it was actually a guy called Dobie, who was one of the main guys in the scene there, great photographer. He organised these just fun contests at Meanwhile and Kennington and some of the other bank spots. And I was skating in one of these for these fun contests, and I didn't know Steve Douglas, Lucian Hendricks, or Danny Webster, and those guys who were like, they were like sponsored skaters in England at that point. This is like late 82, early 83. So I was at this bank contest, and Steve came up to me, same age as me, and he's like, hey, have you ever thought about coming and riding the ramp at Palace? And I was like, no. Actually, I haven't. But he's like, you should. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I started going to Crystal Palace, and me and Steve became really tight, very close friends. And I just, got the bug. Yeah. Progression bug, as you do in skateboarding. And I was looking at that and going, I had the bug.
What was the size of this ramp?
That was 16 foot wide, 8 foot tranny, foot of vert.
Okay.
Had decks. But only had coping on one side.
That's no deck, just coping.
No. It had decks, but only had coping on one side.
On one side?
Only on one side.
Why? What happened to the other side?
I don't know.
Oh.
Isn't 16 foot wide not that wide at all?
For nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in the 1880s, I should say. Back in the 1880s.
Horse-drawn buggies.
Yeah. We had a
big back
harpsichord,
then.
we were looking at harpsichord tracks for our, music for video parts. But they weren't video parts, they were more like that flick motion.
They were drawing themselves.
So that was, Steve kind of pulled me into that, and then we were like, whoa, there's a scene in Crystal Palace, there's a scene in Farnborough, there's a scene up in Manchester. And then suddenly you realize, whoa, these guys from Germany showed up one day, or these guys from France, and then you realize there's these pockets of skateboarding around Europe. And so that was like 83, 84 was really getting into that, and then you start to meet these other people, and you realize there's these pockets of skateboarders around Europe, and it was like fun.
Yeah.
And you'd hear, okay, there's a contest in wherever, France, so you'd get on the train, you'd go there for the weekend, come back, and that was like a really amazing time in the sense of you were part of a small thing that was kind of personal.
Yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I think it was also the age. Everyone has their golden age. You know what I mean? Like that was, and I think your golden age is a certain point in your life where it's pure and fun, and it was just like, I look back at those and I'm going, I am so happy I had those years.
What age were you when you discovered the palace and all that stuff? Meeting Steve Douglas?
15, 16.
15, 16. So you said Steve Douglas and all them, they were like big sponsored skateboarders. What was the...
Physically, I was like 4'5" too, and they were like...
They were big, yeah. But even then, even if you're the same age and somebody looks older, you know, they look like but anyway, I was going to say, what was the ability level between like yourself and Steve Douglas at that time?
Well,
like,
I was a quivering pile of jelly, like running up at the bottom and just doing fakies and learning kick turns. And
Okay.
they were,
they were blasting.
They were blasting and doing, sliding around on the coping and putting their hand down and flying through the air.
Perfect.
Bod, was Crystal Palace like under a bridge somewhere?
Yeah, it was under a walkway. It was at the National Sports Centre. So you could go there during the summer. Sometimes I remember we were there once and we watched Zola Budd, who was this a famous 1500 meter runner or marathon runner or something, but she ran barefoot. She's a South African lady who was famous. She ran barefoot and she like ran by the ramp while some games were going on. So they had big global events there, right there, and we'd be over here skateboarding.
Who built this ramp?
Dan,
was it the city or no?
Dan Adams.
Ah,
Respect to Dan Adams and Phil Burgoyne and many others who helped, but Dan Adams made that happen. We'd try to get each of us to give him £1 every time we skated.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay.
But I mean, without him, it never would have been built. And then, he later went on and was involved in Brad Mag as the designer.
But was it a DIY spot or was it actually like a city? Okay.
City.
Gotcha.
I think he got a little money from the sports center, the National Sports Center, and he raised money, and just the crew.
Okay.
That's
So.
amazing.
We would be responsible for the upkeep and fixing it, and poor Dan tried to extract whatever he could out of us.
Right.
And you know how hard that is to get money, especially when we didn't have anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You need that £1 to go buy a burger.
But that was a great scene. And then that led to just meeting other people. And then there was two turning points. There was a turning point before I met Steve when Steve Caballero and Mike McGill came over. And that was, I think, in 81.
Wow.
And I think that was when I actually realized there are skateboarders out there. Because my friend Crispin and Sam said, we've heard these American guys are coming over. And we said, okay. We'd never been to Crystal Palace before. And Crystal Palace for us then was like going to the moon. It was a 2.5 hour bus ride, stopping every 2 blocks.
Yeah.
But it only cost like 5p to get there on the bus at that time. But we heard these Americans were going to be there. And we didn't really know. This was before we'd met everyone else. And so me and Crispin, Dill, Sam take this pilgrimage across the city. But we get there, and we're like, there was maybe like 100 people there, and we were like just tripping. And this is before we knew anyone. And so we were there, and we just came back, and we were like, and that was really, I think that in 81, that was one of the things that was just like, go skate. We were like, there are people there. And then we started meeting everyone. Then started skating Palace like late 82, going into early 83. Then I think it was 84 when Todd Swank and Billy Ruff, John Detman, and Jeff Croteau came over. And they were like American skateboarders. Like, whoa, like legit. We're getting to skate with these guys, you know? And they were cool, man. Like Todd and Billy and those guys, they hung out in London for weeks. Then they went off around Europe for a month, came back for weeks, and got to know those guys. And that was a really good connection. Really cool.
I was a fan of Billy Ruff.
Yeah. So that was how I got on GLS back then, was from Billy skating. With him and stuff. And, you know, he just went into the Hall of Fame this past Friday, which was kind of rad to see.
Congrats to him, bro.
But that was kind of like my connection there to, like, you know, GNS, which was, you know, amazing to actually get to have ridden for those guys, you know, a little bit later.
Legendary company at that time.
Yeah. But that didn't it happened a little bit later. Like, I met Billy that summer, and it took like about 9 months to a year for it to kind of go around.
And were they coming back and forth, or were they just there that one time?
They were there that whole summer, but they were in and out of London that whole summer.
Got you.
So you said you just knew these Americans. Did you know who they were?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, so you knew who they were.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we would get, you know, I think Rough Trade Records would get maybe 10 or 20 copies of Thrasher magazine each month.
Oh.
And you would hear there's Thrasher magazines at Rough Trade, and you would get there as quick as possible. Because if you didn't get there, they were gone.
They were gone.
Yeah.
You know? And that was our only line of communications, like what's going on in America. It was pre-internet, pre-video, pre-being young, because I'm very old now. That was a long time ago.
You might be our oldest guest.
Yeah.
I think I might be your most ancient
Man, listen.
Jurassic.
Ain't nothing
guest.
wrong with that. Come on now.
I'm good, man. You know what?
You want
In
some
here,
insures?
Mentally, I'm...
There we go.
Let me ask you a question, though. Were the magazines delayed getting there? Like, were they months and months old, or were they pretty in line with the times when they were coming out of the States?
I have no idea, but I know that they didn't always come, and when they did come, there was so few of them.
Okay.
You literally were like, I got to get it.
Right. Because I've always heard sometimes, like in, you know, especially like Europe or these, they were so far behind when they would come out in August, September, October, November, like a December, you'd get that issue.
There must have been a lag,
something.
but I mean, for us, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It really didn't matter. That was your like lifeline to like, you know, and then you're only seeing still images.
Right.
So you're going, how did he do that? How did he get, and then you know, that's why I think there's so many like different interpretations of how to do things, you know, because you'd see a picture and you're like, okay, I guess this is how you do it, you know, and off you go.
Yeah.
Was there any video in any way you saw skating back then?
No. I think the first video that we saw, we got this like bootleg tape. There was a Powell video. There was a very early Powell video. It was called like the Bones Brigade video show.
Yeah,
What was
that
it?
was it. That was it.
Yep.
That was it.
It was Caballero, McGill, and a few others. Tony, obviously, but it was just in Del Mar and Winchester. And it's like 5 minutes long, dodgy tape.
Short.
Couldn't really see it. So we had that, and we somehow got a video of a Del Mar contest that got copied 25, 50 times and spread through
lines going through it. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
But I mean, you know, it was an interesting time to have been involved. I'm happy that I've been around this strange little world for so long and watched the growth, the changes, the turns. It's really awesome to like actually have watched it.
Oh, totally. Firsthand.
And then it's even more like cosmically wild that I'm involved.
Right.
Yeah.
I like still get nervous. Like I get so nervous when there's certain people I meet and I'm like, oh, like
I must be great. Yeah, to actually see the progression of skateboarding, but technologically wise,
Right.
that's insane too. Like both at the same time, like the way you're seeing it, the tricks that are involved, like over time.
it's mind-boggling.
yeah.
Because 1800s. I mean,
the 1880s were a long time ago, man. I mean, you know, molds and urethanes come a long way since then. I mean, we actually used baguettes back then.
Baguettes.
We'd actually get stale baguettes. We'd just cut them, put them on a truck. Because they were sort of round.
yeah.
No, but
they rolled.
But you know what? I actually look at it and I consider myself very lucky, not only to be involved in skateboarding still, but just it's I don't.
It's a beautiful thing.
I don't take it for granted
Yeah.
in any shape or form.
Right.
And what you give in to life is what you get back.
No
and
doubt.
the same can be said for skateboarding.
Yeah.
And I think that
All aspects.
it doesn't owe anyone anything.
Right.
And so, you know, try to be respectful, try to be,
for sure,
straight.
For sure.
Totally.
Especially when we get into like yourself, like get into other positions of actually like running these companies and trying to figure out like how to maneuver. I try
to transport myself back to my 14 to 16-year-old mindset,
right?
As much as possible. I was actually having a conversation with someone recently, and I was just like, no, you can't do that. You can't send someone solo to a demo or do something like that. It's the worst, most torturous thing you can ever have happen to you. Or there's certain little things like that. I try to go back and go like, don't lose track of that. And it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
But
well, especially in such an evolving thing that we're doing.
Such a different universe now.
Now there's like, back then, just a little handful of companies, right? Now it's like 20,000 handfuls of companies. So how do you navigate?
The barrier of entry is low, but I kind of like that. Mm-hmm. I think that breeds creativity. It breeds
competition.
Healthy competition.
There you go.
Healthy competition. So I think that the inherent DIY spirit of skateboarding on every aspect, not just build your own spot, but also on the business side.
Right. Yes. Right.
Is healthy and that competition needs to remain like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting position to be in. Definitely trying to navigate this and do what's best for skateboarding.
Try to. I mean, you have an obligation to. Your responsibility if you're involved in the business side. You have a responsibility to your riders. You have a responsibility to the people that your co-workers, the people that rely. Their paychecks are reliant on you making more good decisions than bad decisions, as Steve Rocco once said. Just make more good decisions than you do bad decisions.
Right. The bad decisions they're going to be there. Right.
Yeah.
But you
live and learn. Like I got very lucky in that aspect on the work side of things. I got very lucky as I was transitioning out of skateboarding, into next thing that I got very lucky riding for Santa Cruz at that time, NHS, and huge respect for Richard Novak, Bob DeNike, Tim Piamada. Absolutely. Jeff Kendall and myself, we both sort of transitioned from riding into working in the same sort of 2-month period.
Wow.
And those guys really, I didn't go to university, I didn't go to college, but I went to the University of NHS. Yeah. One of the best places I think to learn, and just respect to those guys. I mean, really, there's a few people in my life that I have to just, just go, you know what? Thank you.
Yeah. 100%. And we'll get there too, because you did turn pro for Santa Cruz. Mm-hmm. You, like you said, transitioned into NHS. You
turned pro for GNS.
GNS as well.
Correct.
You went pro for GNS.
Then quit immediately.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Why?
Didn't like a graphic?
Not so much.
Wait. Just go back, because you got, who was it? I'm sorry, Lee. No.
Billy Ruff.
I'm sorry. Billy Ruff.
So far, we'll do the quick time trial.
Yeah.
Billy Ruff came over, 84. Was it 84 or 83? I can't remember. Skated somehow during that next 12-month period. Got hooked up with GNS. They sent product, which is just mind-boggling. Just like, whoa.
In their first box?
From the States, no less.
Absolutely. Yeah. From the States, you had to pay £100 to get it.
You had to
custom.
pay.
Oh my God.
Wow. But well worth it, jeez.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't matter. I mean, it wasn't £100, but we had to pay something.
You had to do what you did. Yeah.
And then Steve and I, we've been traveling, doing a lot of the European sort of contests and stuff. And we were finishing secondary school or high school. Right, and it was in the summer, and you finish school in June. In England, then not now, but then your entire high school existence comes down to a series of 2-hour tests. Okay, a 2-hour test on English, geography, science, and it just so happened that the test season was June, July, and that was when all the skate contests and everything were going on.
I'm out.
Yeah.
So I completely failed everything, everything, I passed nothing.
You skipped out on it.
I even got U's, which is unclassified.
What is U?
You have A, B, and C, and then U. Yeah. And a U is unclassified, meaning there's no school.
I thought it was unsatisfied.
Yeah, no. Unsatisfactory.
Unclassified.
Yeah.
So I didn't do very good there, but it's because my brain wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Steve had finished, passed his exams, whatever, and he's like, California. And I was like, I'll be there in 6 months, because I had to stay. I had to go through summer and then go back and retake my exams in like December, January. I can't remember now, like at the end of the year. So Steve came out. This was 85, late 85, mid 85. He came out, summer 85, and he came out, and I mean, God bless him. I'd get letters like every week. I'm going here. I'm going this again. Pre-email.
Yeah.
He's doing his thing, skating around here, and I'm just like suffering in London, just jonesing to get out. And so finished high school, got a job 3 months later on a plane to California. Amazing. Landed in California early 86. That was amazing. Landed in Southern California, came out with Lucien Hendricks. Steve was out here, and just like
blown away, probably.
On some levels. On one level, I was like, where the hell am I? I'm completely stuck. I can't do anything. I can't get anywhere. Everything's 50,000 miles away. I don't have a car. Like, I was like stranded, and you're coming from London, where you walk out your door, you get on the train, you get on the tube, you're there.
Yeah. And back then there wasn't parks.
No, there's like ramps around. Right. I mean, there was Del Mar was there.
Sure. We
were in Huntington Beach. That was that was cool. Stayed with Bob Schmelzer, who picked me up from the airport from Circle A, and all that stuff. Great guy. Thank you, Bob. Stayed at his house. There was a crew there. There was a couple of people out from England and Europe. Don Brown was out. Mac was out. Dave Sundman. There was like a crew of us, kind of like just skating. And then we linked up. I don't even know how we linked up with Steve Keenan, who was a Thrasher photographer and did a lot of stuff for Santa Cruz and stuff. And then we kind of linked up with Keenan. Me and Steve were staying at his house, skating lances every day. Well, not every day, but frequently. That whole Alhambra, Monrovia scene, which was super fun, super awesome. And then went to Northern California with Keenan on a trip, and felt good up there. There was just something about it. It was like, I don't know, the scene up there and that. And then just went off traveling for like, that was like 86, 87, just skating and traveling, blah, blah, blah. Like for a year and a half, homeless, just like, I had a bag that had my entire life in it. I could fit everything in it. It was super organized. My little bag. And then just travel.
Pads in there too?
What's that?
You have your pads in there too?
Separate bag for pads.
What about, did you travel like all over the United States?
Yeah. We would go to, contests and demos or scenes. We would just go check it, like, hey, there's a great place to skate in Richmond, Virginia. Right, we're going to go there. We're just going to go hang. Or there's a contest here. Well, we're going to go 2 weeks before.
You driving?
No. Couldn't afford a car.
Who the fuck you?
You'd like scrounge together. You'd scrounge together like enough for a flight. It wasn't like those days that I rode for GNS, and it was great, but it wasn't like they were like, yeah, here's money for this and that. So
sure.
We had money saved up, and we just spent our money. And then
you were already on GNS at this point?
On GNS.
Okay, gotcha.
Just getting product. No, there was no income coming in. It was like, living on whatever I had. And we spent like a year and a half traveling, and then we ended up in the Bay Area. And then we were like, we like this because it had the triangle. So the triangle is a place to skate, place to live, and a place that we can make a little bit of money to pay rent.
Okay.
And Steve had got a job, and me and Steve were like partners in crime, traveling, doing all this, and he'd got a job at Go Skate shop up there. I didn't, but I got a job raking leaves. But there was a grad skate scene there. There was public transport there. So it had what we called, for us, the triangle, where we could actually function without cars on low. And it was just like, we didn't really care about anything other than roof, skate, roof, go skating.
A little bit of money.
Food money.
Yeah, food
rent money.
Right.
That's it. And it was amazing times, you know. So me and Steve, we cobbled together our money. I think we had, we needed like $100 more to get the deposit into this apartment, and we didn't own anything. And I think Steve's girlfriend at the time gave the money to us, and we moved in, and we were like, this is rad. We have a roof. We have awesome. One mug and a pot.
That's it.
We actually took turns in drinking tea because we only had one mug when we moved in. Sad story on one, like on because me and Steve have done a lot together over the years, and he's a big reason why. Again, respect to him. A big reason, motivation, pushing me. So again, thank you. But It was a sad night. It was Steve's birthday right after we moved into the apartment, and we had enough money to do our laundry but not dry it.
Oh shit.
Okay.
So I remember on his birthday, we were like sitting there and just like trying to find things to hang wet clothes on in his apartment. It was fun, man.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
were
what
like-
did you say? We were 18 now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
17, 18. But like, there was a 7-Eleven around the corner that I could go defrost food in. I'd use the 7-Eleven microwave to defrost food.
Wow.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But
you
just,
do what you
you know,
can. You do what you can.
It really didn't matter. So, I mean, we survived, right? So there was we were right across the street from San Jose State, right 2 blocks down from the bricks, from the bank.
Yep.
Remember the bricks? There's rad curb spots around there, super fun stuff to skate on campus. And then there was Page Mill Ramp, Chicken Ramp, and then Raging Waters came,
Wow.
which was just like,
Yeah,
that was pretty wild.
for sure.
You know, that was a quick bus ride. And so all that happened. And then Steve Keenan was working at Santa Cruz at that time. I was riding for GNS. I was in San Jose. GNS were like, okay, you're going to move, move on, progress. Me and Steve, those days, they had some silly rule where only Americans could skate in the amateur series.
Wow.
What?
In the NSA Am series, only Americans.
Okay.
And so we're sitting there, we're like,
What?
Odd.
so we were like, well, we're here and we're skating. And then, I think Steve again convinced me, well, fuck it, let's go pro. Let's just go to Arizona and we're gonna enter the pro contest there. And
Because that's what you did back then, right?
Well,
it wasn't
sort of.
you would check mark pro on the entry.
I guess,
right?
yeah. Here comes that weird English dude. Like, okay, well, let him in. But so I was riding for GNS Thunder at that point, and I remember going up and talking to, there was a guy called Brian Ware, Beware.
Beware.
Mysterious. And I was like, hey, so I'm here, I'm doing this. And I'd been doing, the AM contest I'd been in, I'd actually been doing pretty good. We traveled around a bunch and I did okay. And so I go talk to Beware, and he just looks at me and he's like, how high are your airs? I'm like, I get over the coping, because I was like, what kind of a question is that? Like,
Yeah.
How high can you ollie?
Yeah.
Basically, it was
Right.
like really weird. Nice guy, weird question.
You have to seriously answer it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So I did. I said, yeah, I get above coping. Was my answer to him. But and then working with GNS, it was like that was right time when Henry Hester was doing team management, and it was transitioning over to Chris Carter. Chris Carter was coming in, and I was like super rad dude and talking. But then a couple of things happened that I was just like, no. And I kind of got really I don't want to name. There was some other guys that they were focused on. I was like, these guys aren't. And I was like, I felt, I'm not saying I deserve anything. I just felt like I was putting in the work.
More work.
Yeah.
Right.
I was making it happen. And then there were other people that suddenly just kind of leapfrogged over. And I was just like, okay. And it was demotivating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I can see that.
And I was in
imagine.
San Jose at this point. I was hanging out with all those guys, and actually was at a Ohio contest, in an arena, and I think I did. Was that before Shut Up and Skate? There were 2 contests back to back, where I kind of broke into like the top 5. You know what I mean? It was a Shut Up and Skate contest in Houston, and then there was this Ohio contest. This was after being like placing no higher than 47th in the contest.
All of a sudden you're...
Suddenly, no, but I actually managed to stay on. And we'd been skating down south, kind of going back and forth. And that was when Lucero was through NHS. We'd been staying with John and skating with him. And John just kind of put it out there. So, hey, what's up with GNS? And I was like, whoa. But then I was hanging out with Keenan a lot. And Keenan was like, hey, you could talk to John, but what about Santa Cruz? And I was good friends with Gavin O'Brien as the team manager. Again, another person, thank you. Keenan was there. Thank you, Keenan. These are all people that helped me in my life.
Sure.
And Santa Cruz was then it was like Powell, Vision, Santa Cruz. And you looked at that lineup, Santa Cruz, you looked at that team and you're like, whoa. And the boards
Definitely.
and everything. It was just like, whoa. That was like it.
So GNS, you never had a physical pro board?
No, it it was in production.
Wow.
When Gavin and Keenan were like, hey, let's do this.
Ah.
There was no promise of a board from Santa Cruz
Right.
at that point. But it didn't matter because it felt right.
Mm.
The people were right. It just felt right.
Yeah, you're around them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was up there. I was in the middle of it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it just felt right. So called up G&S and was like,
Peace.
sorry. And they were great. I mean, they were cool with it. You know, they sold the boards. They, you know, paid for everything. And,
Oh, they still sold your. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have a board.
Yeah.
You have a GNS board
there was
with your
one production
one
one.
production
One
board.
production one,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
And that was cool. So then Santa Cruz,
Mm-hmm.
and that was great.
So you
That
weren't.
was
You didn't go. So you got the production GNS, but you went over to Santa Cruz, and there was no. You were almost back to AM again, but you were still pro.
Yeah.
There's a fine line there. There's
Yeah.
a gray area.
Yeah.
Right.
There are a lot of guys that were sort of in that
Sure.
realm.
Okay.
You know, and
Did you wait to announce that you were on Santa Cruz?
yeah, it was a little. Honestly, I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, they wanted to sell your boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a time period they were going, hey, we'll sell the boards out, you know, et cetera, and you know, I don't actually
Give us a month or two, maybe.
whatever it was. Yeah, but
yeah.
you know, I mean, it was
It was all good.
it wasn't like mad angry breakup. It was just like, hey, this isn't right. This is right.
Gotcha.
I'm going over there, and so that happened, and that was great. That was really, really, really awesome.
Because what I heard is you collapsed GNS.
No,
It was you. You were the
No.
one.
Sarge was in there. Mike Hill was in there. If you look at, I mean, GNS had a great crew. But if you look at that
I'm
team,
kidding.
I actually look at that GNS. I think you look at Neil,
Yeah.
Chris Miller, obviously,
Mhm.
Nikki, Ken, Heinzman. They had a really good squad, and also I think they were one of the first companies to allow skateboarders to do their own art.
Ah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Chris and Neil used to do all their own artwork.
Sick.
I mean, they were literally, that was kind of like the blueprint for sort of where it went.
Amazing.
And
Isn't that what transitioned into Alien Workshop? Is that
well,
what?
yeah, Chris Carter was there
Okay.
with those guys, and Mike Hill was at GNS working like in the warehouse under this like weird cover thing. Like he was actually out there drawing in the warehouse.
Sick.
And that then they turned it into And for a minute.
Oh, okay.
And then they
Yeah.
pieced out.
Right.
Right? Can't forget Steve Clare. He was also in that whole group. And then they moved over to Alien Workshop. And you know, again, Chris Carter, another amazing human being. Just like a good smart
Good dude.
human being.
Right.
yeah.
All the
love that.
right reasons.
Yeah, he
Great guy.
started Alien Workshop and Habitat and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He made
Yeah.
some awesome videos, awesome teams. Yeah.
Definitely did it.
Yeah.
So how long after Santa Cruz did they actually then issue you a pro board?
So Santa Cruz was like late 87, I think. And then I think my first board came out in 89.
Oh, so a year and a half, 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Any graphic ideas, or they just kind of get you? Because like you said, the artists.
One of my
you know-
regrets
is
is not being pushy enough on what I wanted.
what did you want? What was it? What did you want? If you can go back in time, what would you push for?
Well, I worked. So there was the Jim Phillips studio,
Mm-hmm.
right, which was legendary, incredible. And I was really good buddies with Kevin Marburg, who was one of the artists at the studio there. He was part of the whole downtown San Jose crew and just my friend.
Yeah.
So I was like, he's drawing my board. And we just threw ideas around and stuff like that. And for me, I always wanted simple. They had these huge dots, stickers, that we made for the first Kennedy warehouse. So the first, like the warehouse that we all banded together and made happen, or Kendall and Corey made it happen. Santa Cruz supported it. We had this rad scene downtown San Jose. I think it was probably one of the first private warehouses.
Well, TF.
I think it was one of the first.
Wow.
Literally.
Yeah.
And because I remember Brian Schaefer came out from Tampa and the Florida crew. And I remember they came out and stayed and skated and were like, you can do it. Went back,
Did it.
did it.
Oh, wow.
Right? But they had these big stickers, so graphics, they had these big dot stickers. And I used to cut them up and just have a big Santa Cruz on the bottom of my board. There was a sticker, they made a sticker of me doing something, right? It's really, really awkward. But that was cool.
Yeah.
But if you look at that board, that was a big sticker cut up on that board.
Mm.
And I was like, I want this with just a signature. And they were like, no, illustrations.
Okay.
Off we went.
But
fine.
you were still excited, though.
I mean, come on. Yes,
Right,
of
right.
course. Yeah, absolutely. I would like to have been simple simpler logo, but that's fine. And happy with everything. You know, that was great. I have no complaints. They were really good to be around, to be involved with, very supportive. And nothing but good things to say about those guys.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Was it just like the contest era at that point? Were you guys filming video? There's no videos being made?
No, there
yet?
were videos being made for sure.
Oh,
There's a couple of Santa Cruz video, 2 or 3 videos.
Reason for Living?
Reason for Living, Troops of Tomorrow, some Speed Wheels ones. But, you know, the very different. You can see how many days we got to film by the colors of our T-shirts. Like, he's wearing 3 T-shirts in that part. That was a 3-day shoot. You know? I mean,
That's
literally.
what it was back then.
I mean, those videos were how we skated.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like daily. That was
Right.
kind of how we skated daily. And, you know, again, rad, honored to have been part of that and have that is something when I'm old now, but when I'm older, I can look back on that and be like, oh, that was cool. You know?
Do you have all that stuff at your house, like, or in storage or anything?
Not all of it. I have most of the Santa Cruz stuff, GNS stuff. I was so transient in those days. Just traveling, moving around that, I had a bag. It was this big.
Right.
That was my life. Right.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to keep track of all that stuff.
yeah, it's a bummer because I look back on some things. Right. I was just talking to Bobby Pulio the other day, and he's a big GNS. Like he's become all like really into
he's
it.
huge. Yeah.
And he, some of that video stuff I watched him. He's got some real gems there. Some real keepers that you
That's
not
awesome.
to wear.
Yeah.
But I have a fair bit of stuff.
You have your first GNS board?
A ridden one, not a new one.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a couple of prototypes with like one color graphics.
Oh.
I got a rad board I found the other day from so Watson Laminates was there, and there were these like notes on it, which was rad. It was like it was a prototype shape, and there's all these measurements and specs on it. And there's a little note like, "Do you like this?" and stuff. And I was looking at it, going, "That's pretty rad."
No way.
That's
Yeah.
tight. Yeah.
It was cool to have that.
That's
That's
amazing.
super sick.
So now you're Santa Cruz and all that stuff. Everything's going well. How long were you officially on Santa Cruz before you started to transition into work?
So I got on in '87, I think, and then early '93 was the difficult conversation. Middle of '93 was the no more sort of traveling and stuff like that.
So you're about 5-year span,
Yeah.
5-6 years, something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
Seems short nowadays to a lot of people's skate careers,
But
right?
back then, man, 5-6 years was 15, 20 years.
You know what?
Yeah, it still takes some time here.
As far as I'm concerned, your table's wet. As far as I'm concerned, I got to come from England, travel, skate all these amazing places with these rad people. Awesome.
I mean, what else can you ask for?
Yeah.
Not
right?
much more than that.
Yeah.
And I knew, and it was funny because we'd worked hard to get to California. We'd had jobs, saved up,
Right.
got the job. Not pity stories, but you skate all day. You go, and I was working in a restaurant, so you're slamming all day, and then you're walking all night, and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah. Sure.
And I look back. You can't beat that life
No.
opportunity to travel, and university wasn't for me.
Sure.
It is for other people. But,
but
the connectivity. A lot of the people that we all grew up with became part of the sort of global infrastructure, whether they're distributors or retailers or working in brands, and so I guess there's a certain generation of us that we all sort of got here, did our thing, and then it all sort of came to an end around the same time, and we all then transitioned into work around the same time, and 93 was when it all really stopped.
And you were 24, 25?
26.
26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best part about skateboarding is the
Yeah.
travel, the meeting the people.
Oh, yeah.
That's the stuff the money
part.
can't buy, that is really, man, I probably would never have left this country if it wasn't for skateboarding.
Right.
Like 100%, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, think about
to get on a
skateboarding-
plane and go to Australia or Europe and
Even on a broader level,
yeah.
would you have looked at many things in your life in the same way, whether it's art, design,
I started looking at
an awareness like of music and how music interacts with,
Sure.
with things? It's like
everything,
so
right?
much more.
But I mean, I started looking at life differently when I first left the country and
Yeah.
went to Barcelona for the first
For
time.
sure. Yeah.
That was the first time I was like, whoa, this is.
different.
I'm not used to drinking a beer in public and
Right.
not hiding it from the cops.
Yeah, no.
It's changed my life.
No, absolutely. And you create these relationships and friendships around the world with people that you
priceless.
never would have met. I remember
Priceless.
like that little South Bank crew, right, that we spoke about at the beginning. We were from all wildly different parts of London, and we would gravitate in totally different backgrounds. And I'm so pleased and happy that I have these lifelong friends now. Yeah. And you grow from their differences and diversity, and you learn from that, and it exposes you to so many different things. Which
100%. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. I wouldn't know all these guys.
I know skateboarding, right?
Oh my God,
it's the life source.
Priceless. It's priceless. And to be able to be immersed into wherever you travel to. Mm-hmm. As a local, so to speak, because you're kind of you don't have to go to the hotel concierge and be like, oh, what restaurant do I eat? Where do I do? And find stuff on your own. You're in there as a local. You got the locals showing you around. Right.
And
you're going to all the good spots.
Even as big as skateboarding is today, you could still drop in to any city in the world, not on your own. And you can cruise around. You'll find the spots. At a certain point, pretty quickly, you'll run into someone, and more than likely, that person is more than willing to stop, give you the time of day, show you around.
Yeah.
Like if I'm some random tennis player and I'm going to go to New Orleans, I'm not like rolling up to the tennis court like, yo, show me your spots. Right. It's not going to happen.
But it doesn't even matter if you're a pro or or just a skateboarder. It doesn't matter that those lines.
And why is that? I don't know. I mean, I'm glad it exists, but what is it about this strange little thing that we're involved in and stand on that gives it that? Why does it break down the barriers? Why does it open doors? Why? I
don't know. It's so special. It's just like you were saying, like you'd had this thing for yourself. Yeah. And nobody else could.
It's like a common bond.
Yeah. Common bond. Nobody else could kind of come in and take that from you.
No one's teaching you or something like that, this thing that you love. You're just figuring out your own.
And you're exploring everything on your own, which a lot of skateboarders do. They explore with their friends. They explore the world with their friends.
They gravitate to what feels right.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully.
So certain tricks feel right, you're going to do those tricks more.
Yeah. And it creates I think it's just that desire to look at your environment in a different way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then leads to your mind opening up. It's like we were talking earlier about a lot of skateboarders who skate and then transition into different aspects of life. There are a lot of really amazing human beings that have come out of skateboarding and gone in all different directions. And why have they excelled? Why have they been why have they been so creative? Or why have they just excelled at a certain thing? It's
totally.
It's to do with that, like, keep going. Gotta try.
Yeah.
I think we all have a little bit of, or a lot, some people, of OCD inside of us that if you become dedicated or committed to it, it's like you have to have that certain...
Yeah, it's a never give up mentality.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Well, because we fail so many times.
You keep going.
On a skateboard.
But you still love it.
Yeah. No matter how many times you fail on a trick, you're still going to try that trick.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a conquer.
That gets applied in many places in life.
Totally.
Definitely.
So let's continue down this path. It's a good path that we're on. NHS comes around.
Skateboarding goes like this, right?
It takes it. Well, vert skating dies.
Basically.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you couldn't transition into street bod, like a street cab?
No.
Okay.
Solid answer.
Listen, some people did it, like street cab. Street cab, he did it,
Wouldn't have felt right. Would have felt really weird and forced and like.
Yeah. And the thing you love is just gone.
Yeah, it was a strange time because, it was almost a strange time in skateboarding where for the first time certain skateboarders would look at me like, whoa, what are you doing? Like,
what are you
really?
trying to do?
What's up with the shorts?
Right. Like, still holding on, huh?
Yeah, or there was a crew that used to come to the warehouse and the skate park in San Jose, and I never rode big wheels, but I was riding like I think 55s or something, and they were like on the little 40s, and they're just looking at you like, what the hell are those on your board? And you're like, for the first time, feeling like, whoa, this is strange.
Yeah, I'm like an outcast.
Yeah, it was
my wheels.
Yeah.
There was a moment like that, and that was part of sort of skateboarding. Sort of, skateboarding was going like this. It was changing. It was evolving. And I never took it personally. I was like, oh, skateboarding's changing. Oh, it's time to think about working because I can't make enough to live and travel on skateboarding right now. So what next?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like what next stop. It was like what next just to keep going through life.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And, sat down with Denike. And he was just like, business is changing. The industry is changing. in about 6 months, we're going to be winding your pay down. What do you want to do? Right? And I think at that point, I literally was the last vert skater left on Santa Cruz. Okay. Me and Kendall. But Kendall was an all-terrain ripper. I mean, that guy can do anything. And so I could see it coming, and I thought I had a little bit longer. But, tonight sat me down and was like, hey, so what do you want to do? And I said, well, sure. I always thought I'd go straight back to England at the end of this, you know? But
a part of you wanted to stay in skateboarding, though, probably, because it sounded to me like he's giving you an opportunity
100%.
maybe to try to
100%. He was basically, he was sort of, what do you want to do? Right? And I was...
Which is amazing that he gave you an opportunity like that,
Absolutely. And those were tough times for NHS. I mean, that was what, from the peak of sort of like 89, 90, and then it just dropped in half in 91 to 92, and then dropped in half again from 92 to 93.
And that's tough for a big company.
Huge.
Oh,
yeah.
Like really, I mean, I've done a few cycles in my time, and you don't know who you are until you've gone up and gone down and figured it out.
Right.
That you don't know who you are until you've gone through.
I love that.
It's like going through an injury.
Yeah.
It's like going through an injury, right?
Yeah.
So, you've got business cycles that go up and down, and you can't really measure yourself until you've had to deal with some tough situations.
I love that.
But basically, NHS had gone from like 120 employees down to like 32. And I was coming in as like employee number 33, you know what I mean? So I came in during a very difficult time. And Bob was basically saying, what do you want to do? You want to keep it easy? There's plenty of opportunities in production and warehouse. Do you want to get into team management, that side of things? Or you want to get into sales? And I was like, well, where can I learn about the company? I was like, sales. So I was like, I'll go in here and I'll start at the very bottom and I'll just learn about the business, So he gave me an opportunity. I went in, and Novak and Denike, gave, mentored, guided, really a couple of us that came into the company at that time, they really gave us a great opportunity, and we ran with it.
Amazing.
And we learned, and we got to learn on the job.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, that was when, 92, 93, independent was going like that. It was all venture.
Got you.
Remember?
Right.
Indie was like not where it is now. It's like absolute dominant player in that category, right? And so there was those were good learning years, because I didn't actually have the responsibility. Where those must have been very stressful times for Bob and Rich and those guys. But
were you said you went into sales and stuff like that? Were you on a commission based, or did you get a salary, or both? Or what,
I had an hourly wage,
okay.
And I remember Bob. This is good. So he's like, all right, you're going to start working in the middle of the year, but you're only going to work part time for the first 6 months. But part time is you got to be here at 8 a.m.
Ouch.
So I worked 8 to 12, and then I go skate in the afternoon. Okay. So it was kind of a good approach, right? Like get him on the schedule, see if he can show up.
Yeah.
Right.
He was kind of testing you a little bit to see. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, great. That was a sort of easy transition physically. It's always hard to go from being like the skateboarder,
no job, no worries,
to one of those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
office.
Yeah. But I didn't have an ego wrapped up in that. So I was like, you know what? I worked to get here. I had killer fun time skating, still skating. I'll work on the other side and off you go.
But could you survive back then off of a part-time gig? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Vans forgot to stop paying me for a while.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, got left on the payroll.
Sick, dude.
Amazing.
It wasn't like I was making a lot of money off Vans.
Oh, but still, shit. Checks keep showing up. You're not going to call them and see what's going on,
Yeah.
So what? Oh, go ahead, Ron.
When you started doing sales, were you still selling your own board?
Was my boards...
Oh,
I think it was. No, it was. There was two. There was actually two boards. No, I didn't really.
You were pushing that board.
No.
Hey, want to buy my board?
Right? That was a good question there, Roger. But there was two boards. Probably the worst graphic I ever had. This thing called Couch Guy. I don't know what it was. It was like a cloud with some dude in a lazy boy. That's flying through the air. I'm like, where did this come from? I think they made like a run of like 200 of them.
You're like, do you guys even know me? Do you know me? Like, does this represent me?
It was really weird. That one was a really weird one. And there was another one that I was bummed on. That was when that Blue Notebook came out. And obviously Jason and Doom were really into it. And I was like really into this book. And I took it in and I was like, I want a Thelonious Bod board. Right? I just thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
But I got like this weird square with a strip of bacon on it.
Okay.
Looked like, but
Listen, everybody
whatever.
loves bacon, but let me ask you a question though, because back then only a handful of companies, all this stuff was.
Sorry to the art department.
Well, listen, they're probably laughing about it now too. But how were you just on board royalties back then on Santa Cruz, or would you get a salary?
I had a minimum guarantee.
Okay, but how would your board sell to go over that minimum?
Then in those days, you had photo incentives.
Gotcha.
Big speed wheels. Why did all those? If you look at all those magazines from like 87 to 93, why are people showing up with like an OJ sticker like on their forehead? Right.
Well, what's a photo incentive back then?
Oh.
Like, I mean, OJ wheel on your forehead.
If you did it, like if you got coverage, if you're getting coverage, I mean, it was. I mean,
substantial.
Yeah, it was more than board sales sometimes for me. Not obviously for Jason and Roscop and those guys, but it was meaningful.
Okay.
So photo incentive was great.
Did you have to keep track of all that photo incentive yourself and like submit it, or would it just checks?
Keenan and Gavin O'Brien would do it every month.
They'd
go in, they'd read them, and add it. It was awesome.
Beautiful.
That's really cool.
How do you deal with it now with social media?
How do I feel now about social media?
Now, how do you deal with it now with social media?
Good question.
Is that part of like the photo incentives?
We're actually reviewing all that stuff right now because we need to actually have a much better program in place right now.
Yeah, I think
it's hard.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because
it's changing so much. You have to keep it updated and really feel like what works and what doesn't, what should be compensated.
Let's get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a great. How do you do that? How do you take social media into account for? Well, listen, because photo incentives kind of died.
It has.
It did.
I mean, it's like
not for everyone. I mean, I know NHS still pays super good on their photo incentives.
But it did though to a certain extent because the magazine coverage went down. Instagram came in. How do you we used to. I don't know about you, Dubs, but for some companies, you would have to be like, oh, here's this photo. I had this in this magazine and this in this magazine, and kind of submit your kind of ads to people, you know, and then try to get the checks.
Nowadays, it's gone so quickly. It's hard to
what do you do? You know,
the companies are trying to do their best, but at the end of the day, like it's really hard to maintain, especially when there was like
we're literally going
four
through
or
this.
five mags.
We're literally going through this right now.
Time.
On how do you evaluate that?
Well, because people that are watching or listening right now that's not familiar, you're with Dwindle now.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing to try to navigate.
It is, and the photo incentive thing kind of really went into a sort of a black hole.
Sure.
Right? And I mean, literally in the last week with a couple of the brand managers, we've been going through this and we're going, all right, what do we do? Where do contests fit into the big
There you
picture,
go.
right? Where does your actual reach as a rider?
Right.
Like, do you have 20,000 followers, 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers? So where does your actual reach?
Yeah.
Right. And then it's all, what are the requirements? What are we asking the riders to do? We don't have a lot of asks of the riders right now.
Right.
So I think where we're heading on this is define what the acceptable asks are, because you don't want to ask a rider to turn their personal
into
an ad feed.
Yeah.
That's like not the right direction to go. So we're sort of sitting there going, all right, well, how do we get this right? So,
but at the end of the day, though, you have to look at it too. I think of like influencers, right? That are promoting products on Instagram. Some do it in a very, very good way. You know, where you could barely even tell that they're promoting something, right?
They're getting paid for that.
And they're
exact
getting paid
ad, though.
for that.
Yeah,
you know,
like some writers, I think it's some stuff they should just be doing naturally, like with.
Well, if you're paying someone, if you're paying someone every month, there's an expectation that you're doing a certain sort of visibility, right? But then for going above and beyond and actual like tying it into product launches and stuff like that, I mean, we don't have a ton of asks right now of our riders like officially, but I would say as we move forward in the next time period, we have to. Because
here's the thing, and listen, I know everybody's trying to get their shit out there and everything, but on Instagram, I don't necessarily enjoy to be fed like product shots and stuff like
stuff.
I'm being advertised to now by the company, by the rider, by whatever. It's like I'd rather see an interesting. I mean, listen, I've always said it, but look at Letitia Buffoni,
Yep.
right? She is fabulous
Yep.
at like what she does and what she's promoting, and
Yep.
it's very. But a lot of people aren't good at it.
She also integrates into her life, though.
Yeah.
1,000%,
Yep.
right?
She's amazing. I mean, she's like
great.
Super easy to work with and super focused. She knows what she wants to do.
But
she has a very clear kind of direction.
And
of what
I
she's
see
doing.
that, and I don't think I could integrate what she does into my own personal. I'm bad at that Instagram stuff, but how do you? It's an interesting road to travel down. And how do you figure this all out?
I don't know.
Like, I guess what I'm getting at that is, how do you? Do you say to your writers like, hey, you guys are incentivized by doing A, B, C, or D, getting our products on your Instagram feed in a natural way?
I kind of think you've got to figure out what the end result. What is your desired end result? Are you looking to increase the brand's followers?
Brand awareness,
right? Brand awareness. Are you looking to specifically just have products, promoted
ROI
and represented, right?
Return on investment
on the rider's personal feed. I'm being perfectly honest. We don't have a clear path exactly today.
I don't think anybody does.
In the Dwindle camp of exactly what we're looking for there.
Yeah.
So that's not a good answer.
No,
you're working on it.
But it's like something we're sitting there looking at right now.
But I love that, because I don't know if a lot of companies are sitting there looking at that.
No, they
it's
are.
like they're trying to figure out what to do.
They're trying to figure it out.
Everyone is.
But I feel like ever since Instagram kind of came around, but now it's like
Instagram's come around now. No, TikTok. Right?
But it's in the same realm, though. You know what I mean? It's the same social media type thing. But I think what I'm getting at is, like, I think that the companies kind of got lost in the ways of, like, advertising. It used to be, it's so clear cut, right? You do an ad in a magazine, or you do a video, or you do, pre-rolls.
Now it's
kind of like scattered, right?
Yeah.
And I think companies are kind of like, well, how do we navigate? Like we said, photo incentives for some companies have kind of just gone away. There's not there's not that many skaters that can get in Thrasher.
Chris,
There's only so many pages.
I know.
I'll say right now that I know that NHS pays a lot of photo incentive on stuff. I've seen the layout of things, and like they definitely pay a lot.
I'm not singling out NHS. I'm just saying it's skateboarding as a whole. There's so many companies out there that there used to be Transworld, Thrasher. There used to be a lot of magazines, and now there's only so many pages.
There's one North American magazine that's global, Thrasher, right?
There
the
you
biggest
go.
reach, and then you've got Free in Europe, you've got Grey.
I think
I can't even name the other ones around the world.
That's why I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's why I love that you guys and NHS and everybody's focusing on Instagram and how do we navigate that. Because listen, it's the skaters. It's hard nowadays, It's a lot of people don't make money; they live check to check.
I think
it sucks to see.
And you need to, for each rider, I think these days you have to, like, in their contract, do it specific for them almost.
Yep. Exactly.
And I think that's how. I don't know. Like, hey, we want you to go on I'll go in the 9 Club. That's the part of your incentive. Boom. We want you to do this. Go on, do an interview in Thrasher or whatever it is. But it has to be specific to that person.
Sure.
Depending how big your team is.
It's interesting you say that, because there's a new guy we're going to announce in the next month or two, and it was what's got us really focused on this in the last 30 days. This new guy's coming over, and that was a question he asked, and so we said, well, okay, we're going to make this for you.
There you go.
Right.
And we set it up on, doing that.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of world.
Yeah, it's almost like the brand needs to figure out what they need, and then be like, all right, who can help us fulfill those things?
Who and how can they help us?
Different brands have different kind of directions.
Because here's the thing, though, Bod. Even the small guys who have 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, micro influencers, quote unquote, if you want to call it that, they have such a deep following, that they really, it matters.
It's obvious to say, but it all begins and ends with your team.
Yeah. Damn true.
There you go. Product is secondary.
Yeah.
Everything else is secondary. It begins with the team.
It's all the individuals that are on your team.
Yeah.
Special individuals.
Yeah.
Sure. The individuals and the sum of those individuals. It's the history of skateboarding.
For sure.
You know what's funny? I always heard back in the day from Wedding and everyone that was on Alien Workshop and like Habitat, they're like, photo incentive. We've never gotten photo incentive. We're just like blessed to be on this team.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, that makes sense too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're on at that point, you're on like the best team.
And they're probably getting paid good too.
Yeah. I think their boards back then were selling real good.
Yeah.
So when you navigate this wave of skateboarding, which is up and down.
Yeah.
When it's down, the skaters really feel it, and they're like I said before, some of them are living check to check.
Yeah.
And can't squeeze out a living,
I mean, that's kind of been the history of skateboarding for many years. You
totally,
know what I mean? And
totally.
And what we've seen what I've seen in the last, I would say, 10 years is there's this. I hate to say it, but years ago he looked at surfing. He goes, "There's 5 dudes that make money in surfing. Then there's this big gap, and then there's like 100 people just doing it for travel and this, that, and I feel like that gap is happening in skateboarding more and more.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. There's
and
a handful of those top guys that are buying houses and living the good life.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Got a
I mean, it's also
jacuzzi
it's really interesting too to see like what moves the needle with riders, like whose board sells and why.
Why?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like there's these sort of boxes that you can check. But there's no set formula in skateboarding. Yeah, contest, check. Coverage, check. Great video part, check. Looks good, check. Whatever.
Yeah.
But there's no sort of winning combination of those things that translates.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
It really comes down to that invisible, like, especially nowadays. It's like, are you interesting?
Totally.
Do you make skateboarding look good? Do you make
sure.
skateboarding look good?
I was just about to say it's all about that. The
style and
skater.
personality.
It's all about the skater now.
Because there's so many good skateboarders.
Do
they make it look? Is it compelling to watch?
Yeah,
Right.
it makes you want to go skate
Right.
when you watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because back, when magazines were, really around and stuff, we got a lot of help from the companies to promote ourselves.
Yep.
Now it's kind of like
the roles
you're
have
on your own.
Exactly.
Well, the roles have reversed. I mean,
exactly. It's all on the skaters now.
Yeah.
It really is.
To make
really
your
is.
companies look good.
Yeah.
It's what it boils down to. And that's why I said it's all about up to the individual that's riding for your company.
Yeah.
If they are motivated and they're on the program to be on Instagram, to be in social media, because unfortunately that's what it's all about to a degree these days. There's a couple individuals that are not on the gram and on social media that I'm just like, wow, you guys have flipped
there
it.
are certain
You've done
individuals that just by how purely good they are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The Instagram does it for. They're not even self-promoting.
Other
It just
people
gets
are doing,
on there, and
other people
and
are
everyone
doing it
else
for
does
them.
it. You know?
Right. Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
And those are the special ones.
Specials.
Very
Special,
rare.
yeah.
Very rare.
Yeah,
But it's a strange times we live in the sense of like media has just like turned on its head, and as a company or brands, what we used to be able to work with to develop video projects and stuff like that got turned upside down.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Big
It's
time.
like, the money you could generate in selling DVDs paid for
Yes.
really meaningful, travel budgets,
Totally.
music budgets and things like that to really put a great production together.
Right.
Yep.
Something that
Right.
not only gave the skateboarders the ability to shine, you know what I mean? And nowadays you're going, oh man, okay, that's pure marketing cost.
Yeah.
And
And you're looking for other ways to absorb those costs by collaborating with other brands and that you wouldn't probably have done before. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna kind of help you, get that trip.
help make their riders look good. Yeah. But no, it is an interesting time. There's been so much changing in the last couple of years.
Totally.
And
I kind of like taking the marketing budget that you would normally use in this industry for Thrasher ads and Transworld ads and stuff like that, and really putting it on the skaters, to help market themselves and
A lot of them are doing it naturally, man. Like
Yeah.
they don't even need to even be told. They're just like, here,
exactly.
this new product coming out, and they're like, oh, cool, I got some shit to put on the gram. You know what I mean?
But
It's
like-
some people are so good at it.
But like you said,
I look at people and I bug the fuck out. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I don't even know. Like Kelly, for example, he's really good at the gram.
Yeah.
There's certain people that just have a knack for it, and
there's a generational thing going on there too.
for sure, there's definitely for
Absolutely.
sure.
like you said though, Chris, like you said, you don't like doing it.
I
And
don't.
it would show if you did do it. It would show
Big
Right.
time.
for
Right.
sure.
Big
Feel
time.
forced.
Yeah, it feels too forced.
And that's the thing is like I don't, and I know I could probably do a good job, but man, sometimes I just can't be bothered.
You have this.
I don't.
You have
really-
this.
It's
platform.
time consuming.
I mean,
You have this
listen,
platform. You know?
we were just talking before the show. Like we put out fucking 3 shows a week. You know what I mean? Like I want to like enjoy my time at my house. I
Do you
don't
ever
wanna
run out of words?
It's time.
No, sometimes. Yeah,
We
I don't
say
have
the
enough-
same shit a lot. Just
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
But littles.
Yeah, Lil.
Yeah.
But it's very tough for me to be on this show 3 days a week and then also put my life out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I kind of want something for myself.
Do you ever get recognized in the street?
Bro,
I was standing behind you one time over at the sports chalet over here. You were buying a yoga mat years ago.
I did try to.
Years ago.
I used it twice.
And I was going to like go tap on your shoulder. I was like, you didn't know?
You know
we never met then. And
I know, but yeah, you told me that later. I was like, what the fuck? Why didn't you say hi?
I don't know. Just being me.
Observing. Sometimes that's it's okay. You know?
Yeah. No, but it's, you know, you do get recognized, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, like I said, I want something kind of for myself, and I need to be able to get away from this and decompress on my own time rather than keep
it's not just
flooding
it's not
the
just
internet.
Riders that are putting themselves out there everywhere.
Totally.
It's everybody nowadays.
Right.
Everything is out there.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So.
Sure.
I mean,
We're in a different place or universe than we were 5 years ago, and certainly 10 years ago.
No doubt.
I think you could be representing or like getting sponsored for just being on the show on certain things, specifically you. Like if you had like a T-shirt on or just a chocolate hat that you do ride for them.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like posting on your story.
Right.
I think you could like genuinely talking about it on the show.
I mean, that happens, and I think you do that.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah.
But I got to be really into something.
Yeah, could you get a sponsor for different shows? Like you have a 9 Club show. You have different sponsors.
I'm just listen.
Hey.
I'm open for discussion. You know what I'm saying?
I was
Because
going to
Bod
talk to you
Boyle.
about. I was going to talk to you about a couple of things later.
Please be my guest. You know, don't matter. You know, I'll tell Chocolate. You know.
No.
Listen,
I'm not going to step on those toes.
no, but I don't know. It's an interesting time.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
I like it. You know,
Yep.
I like being able to see skateboarding thrive.
Do you
also,
like-
you know, and so many eclectic people as well.
Do you like the fact that it seems like a lot of people are just willing to put it out, and they don't want to sit on it and hold it and save it,
It's a double-edged sword.
right?
Yeah,
Because I look at it and I go, on one aspect, you know, people are out skating and they're going, shoot, got this today. Boom, put it out there.
Instant gratification.
Versus sitting on it, holding it, and having that moment.
So here's my thoughts on that, right? I'd love to see skaters. I want to go on my Instagram and see Andrew Reynolds skating.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see these guys, Felipe Gustavo and all my favorite skaters, right? But at the same time, though, I know that these guys are also in a world that they're probably trying to work on a video part. They're doing this or doing that. I don't want to ruin the video part that they come out with by seeing all the stuff that they're doing. I want to be surprised.
Right.
You know, some skaters,
So you're
they
patient.
put so much stuff on Instagram. When the video part comes out, I'm kind of like, God, I've already seen all this in a certain
Well, there's just
way.
the everyone always talks about it. The tsunami of gnarly footage or good footage you see constantly is like desensitizing us.
Man,
Definitely.
Right?
totally.
And so I think that's why I look at skateboarding recently, and it's just like, again, it comes back to like, is it interesting? Is it looking good? And those things now shine more than just.
Well, you got like Mark.
I mean, I don't want to take
Suchu.
anything away from people skateboarding,
Of course.
but again, it's like, you know, you got to pause and stop and go, why did that part connect with me?
Yeah, I mean, you got like Mark Suchu, who's dropping stuff on Instagram all the time, and then dropping video parts all the time.
I know.
It's pretty wild. But there's some people you could like, someone like myself, you could know what I'm gonna do in my video part. You know what I mean?
Like Mark Suchu, for instance, like he can do insane Instagram clips and then come out with some video part that you're like, what the fuck? Where have you been, bro?
Do you think there's another part to drop before the end of the year?
The what?
Do you think there's another part coming? before the end of the year?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's an
I
important.
wouldn't doubt it.
It's the season.
I know.
It's right now.
Tis the
It's the
season. Yes, late November.
Yeah, he's making a run. He's making a run.
I would love to see Mark Suchu get Skater of the Year. I think he deserves it almost year after year, especially the other year where he put out those fucking verso and crazy parts.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's a skater that deserves
He's a candidate.
that
Definitely.
fucking recognition.
Yep.
You know, he needs that stamp. You know, skater. He doesn't need the stamp, but you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
to have that.
he has the
there's certain things
validation for sure.
If he can
No
get
doubt.
it, there's
He
certain things
definitely
in your skateboard life,
Yes.
and if you can get
Achievements, right?
that's a big one.
There you go. Is
Yes.
there nowadays with all this stuff? Is there something that you see that you can like measure that moves the needle for like board sales and stuff like that? If because you know there used to be like interviews and like there's so many different things,
Well-
but nowadays is there stuff that moves the needle? Do you notice anything?
Well, yeah, great skateboarding always pushes through.
There you go. There you go.
100%.
Right.
Great skateboarding will
1,000.
get views even if you don't put $1 behind it.
Right.
If it's truly great
Moves the
skateboarding.
needles, board sales.
Because it will just get out there into the ether
Sells
and
itself.
people.
Sure.
But definitely a couple of years ago, you could a part on Thrasher would come out, and you would actually be able to measure that, and you would actually see a spike in a rider's board sales after that Thrasher part had dropped.
Okay.
So for sure, a couple of years ago. Now there's just like so much content, and maybe the business cycle is a little bit different right now. Definitely the last year and a half just been like chasing sales and trying to keep up with production and stuff.
Totally.
But I don't necessarily know if a video part just moves the needle on it. I mean, I certainly appreciate and want to see great skateboarding, but there's just so much of it. And it's not even like full-blown video parts. It's just like...
It's a part.
What about contests? Does contests do anything sales-wise, you think?
Or how about a great interview?
Those are two great. Yeah.
I think contests create awareness. I think that they're validating, and it's a part of skateboarding. And I like contests. I think contests are rad. It translates for some and not for others, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's more about how a skateboarder puts themselves out there. Are they only in one lane, or are they just in all lanes doing their thing and putting out great skateboarding and stuff? I think some people can maybe pigeonhole themselves a little bit too much. And, there's great skateboarders you see in contests, and you're like, well, I'd like to see more.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
I'd like to actually see, like, I don't want to just see that.
Just the contest, and that's it.
I'd like to see more. And there's literally people who are incredible, dominating, but I've never seen them outside of that environment, and I would like to see that on some
I think we all would.
on some rough ground,
For real.
or dealing with some elements maybe.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those guys for sure.
So it's harder
And
to...
it's fine if that's what they want to focus on. That's totally fine.
Right.
Definitely.
And also the context circuit, it's a lot for these skaters too, especially when the Olympics was up. Like they didn't have time to do anything else but focus on these contests.
Well, and then think about if you've got like 3, 4, 5 contests back to back over however many. Who was I speaking to? Someone. And it's like the contest scene circuit was like 2 to 3 weeks between events, like 5, 6 back, and then what that does to your body.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah, especially skaters for sure.
Yeah. I mean, well, filming a part, what that does to your body, but you can actually choose to unless you're coming down to the deadline, but yeah. I don't know.
It's hard nowadays to judge what moves the needle and what doesn't.
I think skateboarding has always been hard to find out what truly translates from all those elements. We're talking about ticking the boxes,
Yeah.
I mean, skateboarding has always been about the vibe, your image, not image like your image, but like who are you?
Yeah.
How do you carry yourself, and how do you look on your board, and
That energy.
the whole thing, that energy, exactly, that energy you put out is always translated. I mean, go back to my era, Christian Hosoi.
Oh my God.
I mean,
That energy though. He put out that
energy he put out there. He's
Next
standing on his
level
board
shit.
waiting to drop in. He's standing there for a minute, like dancing. He's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Straight up.
But it's always skateboarding is. I think a lot of things we're talking about today, sometimes they've actually always been there in skateboarding, but just maybe not as visible as it is now when everything is captured.
It's
and everything is
transcended
put out there.
definitely quite a bit for sure.
But it's about skateboarding for me personally. Forget about business. For me personally, has always been about, again, how does it look and how does it make you feel when you see that person skating or that part? And if you connect to that, whether it's the style or how they're doing it or just the music that they had in their part or whatever, there's all these like touch points. And I guess if you have enough of those, you're drawn towards someone.
Right.
Well, a big part of that too is like interviews. They would have in magazines, or I mean, this day and age, like you have like something like this 9 Club or the Bun.
Yeah.
Have you seen any like that stuff, sale wise?
Not so much on the podcast. I think that this outlet here certainly. I mean, I look at it and go, all right, what was the Transworld interview of today?
Yeah.
Or Thrasher interview, and it's like I think this is like one of those things, right? That actually you get to see someone, hear them, learn about them, and I think interviews or day in the lives
Yeah.
The 4-on-1 day in the lives were always
Those are
super
great.
interesting.
Right.
Those are really dope.
You know, and I remember like speaking to those guys at 4-on-1. They were saying that the day in the lives were the most watched and requested.
Yep.
Right.
part
Well,
of
because
those.
even back then, you don't get to see them talk
Right.
or listen to them. You don't know how they act
Yeah.
off their board.
What do they sound like?
What do they sound like?
Right.
And I love this show as well, just not to, toot our own horns, but there's so many times where even me, I meet somebody for the first time here and I'm like, maybe wasn't, not like a fan, but I'm like, but when they leave, I'm like, that fucking person was so sick.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan
For sure.
now,
Yeah,
because I
definitely.
never really got to
Yeah.
see or hear them,
Yeah.
or hear their story.
You saw their
Yeah.
skating, but you
Yeah.
didn't know how
Didn't-
they acted.
Totally.
It's just another key point to like connect with that individual that you like his skating, and now you might like his personality. Like, fuck, well,
Then it
that's
elevates
amazing.
the whole thing. You like
Yeah.
skating even more. Just 'cause
Totally.
I mean, there are definitely many instances like that through life where you meet someone and then they fall into a different category later.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And that
Definitely.
usually happens a lot when you meet somebody.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a big fan of their skateboarding,
Yeah.
you meet them as a person, you're like, I fucking love that person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a few people for me like that. I mean, Kyra Foster for me personally. When I was at Giant, when we started Pop War and did that whole thing, I remember speaking to Kyra one day, driving. I was speaking to him, and I had to tell him, I go, you are one of the reasons why I get up and want to work hard.
Oh wow.
I want to
that's
work
awesome.
hard for you. Because he hits every box. Not only is he just an amazing skateboarder, but as a person, like he's just like solid. You know what I mean? And I remember telling him, I remember it was a difficult time. I think it was like 2004, which was a lull in skateboarding, and we were like a year and a half into Pop Boy, and it was actually going really well, but in the context of the business, it was like a difficult time. And Kyra just made my day. And I was like, that's the way I want to get up. You know what? In life, there are good days and bad days. Push all that aside. If you can have someone like that motivates you, or have something that reminds you, going, you know what? I work in something I really love.
Yeah.
And there's people like that that I found that you meet and you build a connection with, and then you go, oh man, I have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to everyone that's involved with your company, but like some people, it's like I
Yeah.
I
They get the energy moving. Like you're just like, okay, I see why you're here and what my purpose is. I need to fucking keep it going.
Absolutely. And there's a few like that over the years, and you build personal relationships with them. I'm tight with Kyra. He's a good guy.
Oh, he's
Fuck yeah.
He's
one of the
Solid as
best.
fuck.
Hell yeah.
Solid was the key word. He definitely is. And I don't even know him that well, but I know him
so I mean,
enough.
but then we're tying that back to like, what translates? Why does this person move product or whatever?
right.
And it's like, there's formula you can follow. Doesn't mean it's going to work.
Totally.
Sure.
So
Absolutely
funny.
doesn't mean it's going to work.
Sure.
Could just be a graphic.
Work for John Lucero.
Corey O'Brien. Love Corey.
These
But-
these are legendary graphics we're talking about here.
No, but right, And so who knows what makes it work? And you know what? You'll figure it out, or you think you will.
Sure.
And it will change. Completely do a U-turn on you.
Definitely.
Because skateboarding is ever evolving, moving thing.
Faster than ever right now.
Oh, well, yeah. Keeping up with the world. Maybe accelerate. You know what? Accelerating ahead of the world.
There we go.
I like to think that everything meaningful in the world stems from skateboarding.
I'm on the
Every
same page, bro.
Popular influence, whether it's a seeing a style of music coming up, or something going
Particular
on
style
in
or
fashion
whatever,
and style. I would like to believe that everything stems from skateboarding for the last 40 years.
I'm in the same boat as you, bro.
Yeah.
Really.
Amen.
Yes.
Fuck. Beautiful, bro. Listen. Okay. We were on a path. We were talking about NHS.
Yeah.
We were talking about going to Giant. What happened there? What's because then you went from Giant to then Dwindle.
Yeah. Three companies I've worked with over the last 180 years. Since the 1880s. How many years? 1880s? 141 years, yeah. No, so I was at NHS for a long time, worked in-house there. Again, great opportunities given by those guys. Got to learn a lot, grow a lot. Got to a certain point, and I just I'd learned a lot, and it was kind of like what you were talking about earlier about traveling. Like, you don't know where you live until you've gone somewhere else. And basically my whole sort of working career, meaningful working career, had been there. And I was just like, I want to learn more and this. And this was during the dot-com boom, 99, 2000. And I had a friend who was involved in this with the dot-com. And so I went and did that for 8 months, and they spent a bunch of money, and we didn't really get anywhere. Right? But it was interesting.
Tried.
But at the same time, Steve Douglas, he'd obviously started New Deal back in 1990, then evolved into Giant Distribution with Element, Destructo, Form 1, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Some really, interesting, meaningful brands there.
Definitely.
And he'd spoke to me over the years about come and work, this, and I was like, you're my friend. We're close. There's a line there. I don't necessarily know if I want to cross it. You know what I mean?
Interesting, right.
And it was this point, he's like, hey, look, at that point, sort of 2000, skateboarding was really going rapidly. They had a very strong program there. He said, look, come down. We need someone like you in the business. Come and meet Johnny and Paul and consider this. And at that point, I was living in San Francisco, working in Santa Cruz, loving it up in the Bay Area. The thought of living in Southern California was just like, hell no.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Got you.
But speaking to Steve, it was like, all right, the timing is right now. We both got to a certain level, maturity or whatever, experience. So I was like, let's do it. So I moved to Southern California to come work at Giant with Steve and Paul and Johnny in 2000, with the goal of being in Southern California 3 to 5 years and see where it goes.
Paul Schmidt, Johnny Schiller.
Exactly. Yeah, sorry. Again, thank you to those guys. Along the way, people who give you opportunity and stuff, you always have to. So those guys were great. Again, each opportunity to be able to learn from people has been awesome. So I came down to work with Steve. Company was growing. Element was obviously just going every month. Was just like boom,
exploding.
Boom. Yeah. Johnny, Steve, the team, they were just doing an incredible, firing on every cylinder. I was looking at Giant at that time, and it's like Black Label was on fire. Element was on fire. Destructo, this was right at the beginning when I came down to the Bam Boom.
The Bam
Boom. There we go. So I came down to work with those guys, just working, inside. So I came down there as director of sales, whatever, overseeing the sales department, working closely with Johnny and Steve, and that was great. That was awesome. That was a small, tight crew, and so I'm not sure where I'm going with this line, but work with them, and then that was right when Element was blowing up, and then obviously Billabong came along, acquired Element. They were looking at acquiring the whole business. Then they decided Element is what we really want. So sold the business to Element, and then
Billabong. Yes.
Sorry, sold the Element business to Billabong. Getting my words the wrong way around. And then they basically licensed it back to us for the hard goods while they went off and developed the clothing.
Interesting. Okay.
So we were then still doing the hard goods, and obviously for the business, that changed the business a lot. Steve at that point had 2 young kids and was like, I've been doing this gnarly work schedule for many, many years. Sold the business, and he had an opportunity to go spend time with his family. So he basically was like, I think this was in 2000, late 2002, 2003 when the deal went down, when Element was sold. He's like, look, I'm going to actually step away from the business. You're here, positioned. The goal was when you come down is, have a succession plan. At some point, Steve will move away, and hopefully Bod will prove himself and step up. It happened much quicker than we had thought about, because that whole Element transaction happened much quicker. So Steve then stepped away, and that was 2003, and that was right when skateboarding was kind of getting a little wobbly, and obviously Element, being a big part of the business, was sold off. Came back as a licensing deal, and then they bought out of the licensing deal. Came back as a distribution deal, and then the distribution deal went away. So they were like very smart. They were basically, without just taking on the business and potentially making mistakes, they were taking it on
little by little,
and chipping away at it.
Yeah. Let's watch them and see what they're doing. Okay, figure that out. Take it back. Okay, let's watch this next part. Figure that out. Take it back. Smart.
Wow.
And also, where Johnny wanted to go with Element was a big vision. So then Element left the business, and that was in 2003, 2004. And that was when skateboarding kind of hit a peak and was coming down. And 2004 was a rough year. So obviously we downsized the business because Element had gone. The market was dropping. And the problem with that is you're planning your raw materials or inventory. You're planning 8-9 months out.
Sure.
Yet the market's dropping today. So you've got your inventory today. You've got stuff coming at you, and you're going, all right. And then there was a big bankruptcy that year that really hurt us. A chain store that went out of business hurt a lot of people in our industry, and it was just like getting punched left, right. Taking one on this side of the face, one, and it was really, really difficult. But Paul stepped up, Schmidt, and really made sure, from a financial point of view, supported the business. Thank you, Paul. And we worked really hard and scaled the business, had to make some difficult decisions, as you do. But you have to think those through and really, handle them in a respectful manner.
Sure.
But scale the business back as quickly as we could, worked really hard. We were launching Pod Boyle at the stage, which was actually doing really well. And it was just a difficult time, 2004, that year. And then there were some internal changes within the company. And I kind of...
Weren't you guys bringing back stereo around that same time?
Yeah, stereo. So right then it was Black Label, strong. Destructo, strong. 4-on-1 had moved out, gone on its own way at that point. Pop War, relaunched stereo with Jason and Chris. And we were kind of investing a lot into Pop War and a lot into stereo. I actually look at Giant 2003 to 2005, and I go, if I look at a catalog now and I look at the creative talent that was involved, like Matt Irving heading up stereo with Jason Dune, John Lucero, Yogi Proctor and Pop War, Gary Parkin on Destructo. But I look at it, I go, that to me...
That art department's amazing.
Yeah, creatively, one of the strongest, most talented groups of people in all my years of skateboarding as a collective. But the business was just difficult, right? And then I'm trying to think. It was we were working and complete commitment, dedication there, like good tight group of people. And Gary Valentine from Globe, who'd acquired Dwindle in 2003.
Right.
2004. It was December 2003 going into 2004. Gary called me up and said, hey, let's have a chat. I was like, okay, cool. Gary was a friend of mine from skateboarding. Gary, Maury, and Lee Ralph, and a few other Aussie and New Zealand skateboarders. We'd all sort of landed in America at the same time, like 86, 87, and we all were buddies from skating. He'd gone off, and obviously they launched, at the same time we'd all started working. He'd obviously gone, and they launched Globe in, I think, 1990 or something like that. This is years later now. But in 2004, Gary just picked the phone up and called me up and said, hey, what's going on? And I was like, Gary, super, always appreciate a call. That's like a sign of respect, right? I was rad. But I'm dedicated here. I'm like committed. I'm not going anywhere right now because we're in the trenches and we've got a great thing going on. We had a really good group of people. And so that happened in very early 2004. And then at the end of 2004, again, it was difficult, and a couple of decisions were made inside the business there that I wasn't 100% on board with. But just a couple of decisions were made internally, and not decisions with anything. It was actually internal staffing. Some decisions were made about, there was actually one person for me. It was a guy called Matt Lamb. He was our operator. Really good guy, dedicated. And decision was made that he wasn't right for the business, and I didn't agree with that. Right? And that kind of, he was my like partner in the trenches day to day, running the business.
With him. That's what.
Yeah. I'm in here 24 hours a day. And again, I have to respect Paul and Johnny and those. It was no like bad blood, but I was just like, this. So basically, this was going on in my mind over here. And then Gary called me up again and was like, hey, it's been almost a year since I last spoke to you. Like, we're looking for someone to come over to Dwindle. And at this point, the business was evolving, and I was sitting there and I was going, the world is changing. This is when, Billabong has come in and is making their moves with Element, and there were some other things going on. And I was sitting there going, man, if you don't have a global infrastructure, a global reach, the ability to land products at local pricing, if you don't have the financing in place to really do that, this change is going to continue to change. It's going to get more and more competitive. So Gary called me up on this side of my brain. This side of my brain's going, And then spoke to Steve. I was like, hey, Steve, speaking to Gary. He's like, yeah, interesting. And so we spoke together.
Meanwhile, Steve is out of the picture.
Meanwhile, Steve had been off. And as he says, he'd gone from running, a couple of companies and being very involved in skateboarding day to day to, emptying the dishwasher and like spending time with his kids, which is great, but he has the madness. Yeah. And the madness for me is the thing that drives a skateboarder. It's like you get up and go, I'm hurt, but I'm going to skate. Yeah. Or I'm working and it's 3 a.m, but I'm up and I got an idea, so I'm going to go.
Sure.
And he has that. And he's like, hey, I want to, let's go talk. So we went and spoke to Gary and they were like, look, we want we need some new management in here to kind of point the ship. Mm-hmm. Are you interested? And I looked at, we describe it as a Dwindle then in sort of 2004, 5 was like a Porsche, but it had like a broken windshield and a flat tire and a scratch, but it had this engine that was full, tank was full of gas. And we were like, you know what? There's some. We could go in here and make a difference. And we had obviously a long, good relationship with Gary. Goes back many years. Transcends business. It was like from skateboarding.
Right.
Matt Hill and the Hill brothers knew those guys from going down to Australia and contests, and we're like, hey, these guys have been in it for a long time. They're in it for they're like committed to skateboarding. And so we said, you know what? All right. So we jumped. Well, I jumped. Steve jumped back into the pool and I jumped from this pool to that pool. And it was very hard because for me, the people relationships are super important.
Yeah.
And you don't make those decisions lightly. And there were some great people at Giant.
Right. Did you feel like you were leaving a lot of people just
100%?
That's natural, though.
I felt like I was abandoning people.
Ship.
I felt, and I tried to make sure everything was lined up as much as possible, but it was hard. And over the next year or two, there was like 5 people that actually rejoined us from that. So again,
that left that scenario.
Came and joined us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And that to me means a lot because that's more. That means there's a personal thing there.
They followed your lead.
Well,
to a degree.
They trusted.
Yes.
And I don't take their trust lightly. You know what I mean? That's like, again, if you're in charge, if you're responsible for people, you're responsible for people. Mm-hmm. And so, again, you those are sleepless nights that I don't like when you're. But so went over to Dwindle, and that was January the 13th, 2005. Wow.
Jeez.
A long time ago. And that was like my first day on the job was walking into an ASR trade show.
Oh, seriously?
And then I walked into a sales meeting with every global distributor in the world. And I was like, welcome to Giant, Dwindle. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Oops. No, I actually did.
Yeah.
And it was fun because Steve got back. Me and Steve were kind of the two-headed beast, My wife calls Steve my life partner.
Okay. Okay. She's not your life partner, Steve.
Yeah. I mean, we literally grew up. We became very close friends. 14 years old. We skateboarded together. We traveled together. We were known like we would always travel. If Steve's there, where's Bod? If Bod's there, where's Steve?
Yeah.
We ended up in San Jose together. We did all that stuff. Then separated for a few years while he obviously went on, and then ended up working together. And
that's so sick.
Steve was involved with me at Dwindle from 2005 all the way through to 2000 and probably 15 or 16.
Got you.
Well, I had to have a conversation with him. I was like, I don't know if we can afford you anymore, Steve.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
I know,
You got a divorce.
You know what? It was meaningful in the sense of those were tough years, and Steve could see what was going on in the business.
Oh, yeah.
So he was understanding too.
You saw the writing on the wall.
To a degree what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean...
He's
Steve,
doing just fine.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
we're not talking about that aspect.
No, but for me, Steve was a big, when you're working together, it's great to have a sounding board. It's great to have a partner in not in crime, but in those moments where you're like, am I making the right decision or the wrong decision? Yeah. And having someone that has experience that you trust.
Totally.
I mean, me and Steve, we're like cats and dogs. We fight, we argue. We are not like simpatico on the same page. And I think
that's beautiful.
That was what was always good.
That's good.
It balances guys out.
Yeah.
I mean, Roger, did you ever see us fight? I don't know.
I see you guys bicker. But you two do work incredibly well. I don't know how the hell you deal with Steve's long emails.
Oh, he's the email king.
I mean, he's been writing letters for years, so.
Yeah, but he's an interesting dude in the sense of he has the madness. I call it the madness, and he's driven.
Well, I'm sorry. What was your role and his role? What was the positions you guys were working as?
It said president on my business card, and it said vice president on his business card.
Oh, okay.
But basically, we were a bit of a two-headed beast. I was like in the company every day, budgets, sales, production, ops. There were certain brand managers that I worked with, but he was more like business opportunities. Like we I think one of the things that Dwindle did, we took the rest of the world seriously. We didn't sit there and just go, skateboarding is Californian, and our teams are going to be Californian, and we're only going to think about this ripple effect that comes out. We were like, no, skateboarding is global.
Right.
And there are scenes everywhere. And really, the 2000s, early 2000s was when these scenes really started.
Totally.
For sure.
Not just developing there were strong skate scenes there for many years, but developing as that, well, if you're not going to participate, then we'll build our own business. We'll build our own brands. We'll build our own. So you can't expect to like be fully sort of connecting if you're not participating.
Yep.
And so we were like very going, remember the world is global. Let's look at, and I think we were one of the first companies to really sort of embrace international pros.
Yeah.
And really, I think like
sure.
about 25 to 30% of our riders are international. I mean, with their names on boards, you know what I mean?
Right.
And
When
I
you
think
guys brought Cliche over, that was a huge deal.
Big time.
That was awesome. Working with Jeremy and Al and Eric, the artist, was just awesome.
I mean, that was the first time I saw a European brand just kind of.
Well, Flip had obviously come
Flip
over.
too, Flip was definitely first.
Yeah, Flip. And even right when we brought Cliche on was when like Palace and Magenta and that whole thing was coming up. And, I think, one of the mistakes we made with Cliche was in a weird abstract way was like trying to, in the same way that we taken, US centric brands and go, no, let's think globally. We were like, when you come to America, think about the US. And I look at it and I go, in hindsight, I go, maybe that was a mistake, maybe.
Yeah.
Because skateboarding was evolving and changing, and that same thing that worked here doesn't necessarily work here.
Yeah.
So, are you referring to like having Joey Brzezinski on and being the first like American rider?
You were done before then.
Not specific to an individual rider.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pinpoint it on a rider. Yeah, because Joey was involved way before.
And nothing.
Maybe
Joey,
no.
Yeah.
Love Joey, but maybe
you gotta let the brand just be what the brand is.
Skateboarding changed then.
Yeah.
Skateboarding was evolving, and I think what was driving that when we talk about that connection of a skateboarder, right? Tick tick tick, a brand, tick tick tick. But it was evolving, and then we were going to this place where being a small brand, being from somewhere else, having a completely different look and feel, held more, or not held more, but connected better.
Yeah.
So I think that there were some things going on there, and it's funny. I think the name Cliche just didn't translate to North America.
Interesting.
Cliche. You'd have people saying that,
Yeah.
and it's such a rad. I mean, Cliche is such a rad name.
Oh my
It's
God.
like
is.
it really is, and again, huge respect to those guys. They were
That was a great
really
company.
good, really good to work with, and it was
Awesome
like
company.
that was. I mean, when we had to make the difficult decisions there to wind that down, it was like, this is our favorite brand.
Right.
This is what we, you know what I mean? It's like having a favorite child, right? You shouldn't have a favorite child, but you do.
It was a unique brand out of Dwindle. It was
It was.
special its own way.
It was,
Yes.
and again, that when that was wound down, it was like, at certain points in life, skateboarding goes up, skateboarding goes down, and when it goes down,
Tough
suddenly
decisions.
you can't, not like we couldn't afford the rent, but if you can't afford your rent, you have to make changes.
Right.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to the people who rely on you,
Yes.
Keyword.
right?
Disservice.
And
Totally.
so we had to make some very difficult decisions there, and I think that again, respect to the Hill brothers and Gary, because that was a big change. We had to make some big changes in the Dwindle business in that time period there, and I will again go out to Gary, the Hill brothers and Gary. Like, we had to make some difficult decisions, but they gave us the tools to land those decisions as best as possible.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we weren't just going, hey guys, sorry, paycheck stop next month. We gave people, we landed people, we gave them a runway, and that was money out of those guys' business. They didn't have to do that, but they did it because it was the right thing to do.
Amazing.
I'm not saying everything we've done has been perfect and awesome, but I've tried to do that. And so shutting Cliche down was very difficult. We worked with Al and Jeremy, and we were like, actually, look, hey, if you want, we'll actually transition the trademark ownership over to you over a period of time. Here's a sort of basic operating budget. Mm-hmm. Here's you can because you have an OEM business, we manufacture for a lot of people. We have a branded business, and then we make stuff for people.
Sure.
And we're like, this is what it would cost. So if your sales are here and you're buying from us, this is what it would look like. If you're interested, we will help facilitate that.
Giving them options is great.
Yeah.
And
they definitely pondered and considered that, but in the end, wasn't the path that they went down. And fair dues.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's, you know what? There's. Everyone always wants to. I want to own my own company. I want to do this, and that's great, and I encourage it. But there's also difficult times that come along with that. And I think how you handle yourself in those difficult times is you've seen so many people in skateboarding, they're riding on the way up, and then when it goes the other way, they not sure what to do.
Totally.
You
do
know?
you kind of wish?
No doubt.
I don't know, like at Dwindle and being at a Giant, you have all these different brands that you're kind of managing. Is that pretty stressful at that point when you're overlooking 4 brands?
4,
like I'd be or that, like
that would have been easy.
But like,
4.
But like all that stuff, like that must have been crazy stressful. And how do you learn to deal with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
the right people.
oh my God! You try to find good people. Mm-hmm. You're trying to find people that are good at what they do and are trustworthy. Mm-hmm. You allow people to make mistakes. You allow people to learn. I don't know. I didn't go to business school. I learned from some great people, watching how Bob and Rich and those guys, and then learned a different level of management from Johnny and Paul and Steve, and then learned a different style of management from Gary and Matt Hill and those guys.
And you create your own.
Yeah. You have your own within yourself.
I guess you just try to be straight with people as much as possible.
It's important.
And you don't. I always say this, and people are sick of me hearing it, but don't run from the bad news.
Yes.
Look at it. Surprises are what send people over the edge. But just if you see a problem coming, try to get out of its way, right? And I think a lot of people aren't willing to see what's happening and go, oh, this is really changing right now. We need to do something very quickly. A lot of people go, next month will be better.
It'll be fine.
It might not be. Next month will be. Well, no.
Yeah.
You can always add back. But if you try to readjust scale a business in a short time frame, it's painful.
Yeah.
So you need to scale back quickly where you can to allow yourself a runway to keep moving without having to make really drastic changes.
Yep. Business is scary. It's a scary thing, especially when you own your own business and you're trying to navigate all this stuff.
It's scary when you're responsible for people.
100,000%.
That's the biggest thing there, because these people have
lives,
families,
rent, mortgages,
kids,
and that's a
lot of pressure.
I'm not going again. Not woe is me, because I love what I do.
No, we're not.
But you've got to think about that, and you've got to think proactively ahead. And I think I really learned that definitely from Bob at the beginning, and definitely from Gary. Like, he's like brutally honest, which is great.
I listen. Honesty is the best policy. What they say, but also just being transparent and just being because listen, we've all dealt with it before, and we've touched on it before too. But it's like. We always like as skaters too, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. You know, you never get told anything until it's too late. The communication barrier is often not there, and
not the best.
It's not the best, and that sucks because as skaters, I think we're entitled to know kind of what's going on, and how we can help as skateboarders too.
But it's our responsibility as well, especially
to be proactive.
Yeah, to be proactive about our lives.
I know, and sometimes you get, the business grows and there's layers of people.
100%.
And it's not that we're not that big to like not have personal relationships, but we're all so busy.
Yeah.
And skateboarders are busy nowadays more than ever.
It's true.
The business is busy, and we do a lot more now with less. Even though the last couple of years have been pretty good, we do if you look at the staffing of the company and the size where we were to when we walked in 2005, we're much smaller infrastructure, maybe more brands.
Okay.
Maybe more products, I don't know, but it's
get people doing like 4 different jobs.
Yeah, more hats.
Oh yeah,
more hats being worn.
It's the beauty and the curse of what we're not. In the grand scheme of things, we're not we're not huge organizations. We're small companies in the grand scheme of things. And the beauty of that is you get to touch all these things. You can make an impact. I always think skateboarding is an industry or a culture that people can get in. You can be young and get involved in this industry, and you can have a body of work to show quickly versus other industries that might take you years to actually get something, to actually have someone take your idea seriously and see it translated into a whether it's an ad, a photo, a video, a product, but actually see it translate into something that goes out into the world. Skateboarding is a gateway, an accelerated gateway where if you're over the years, you often get contacted by people saying, "Hey, how do I get into the industry?" This and the other, and I'm like, "Come and meet people, show up."
Straight
True.
up.
Yeah.
Show up.
That's
and
a key factor.
if you carry yourself well, if you're whatever your lane that you pick in, if you're Italian, you can develop really quickly in skateboarding, and that can lead to other things beyond skateboarding, far bigger.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Wow. So you guys got a lot of things going on over there. You really do. You really do. And you guys are still going.
Yep.
I do want to touch on this because I think it's rad. We actually have one of the boards here because I think it's like, as skateboarding companies, I think sustainability is really an issue that we need to work on, and it's not going to happen overnight, but I think that, and we talked about it a little bit before the show, is that little by little, inch by inch, we can get there, but we just have to start doing stuff.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
We sat around going, obviously, we can all do things. We manufacture products.
Yes.
Right. We're using resources. There's a factory there that makes things, and we would sit around and go, okay, we need to start looking at what are our manufacturing processes? What are the materials that we're using? And at a certain point, we were like, hold on a second. We don't have to do one massive thing. We just have to start doing things.
Something.
Little things.
Small, little.
So we've done a number of things over the last couple of years. First and foremost, at the factory itself, really, for the last 6 to 8 years, they've been, there's a lot of regulations and stuff that are being implemented, good ones, to do with your manufacturing processes, how you handle waste, what is the manufacturing environment, how are you handling your waste, what processes, materials. And so there's a lot of sort of requirements that are required. Our factory is in China, and there's a lot of good and new regulations in there. And we're really proud of our factory there, and it's ahead of its. It's compliant on all these levels. We've gone through some really. There are third-party organizations you can go to that will walk into your facility, and they'll basically,
assess.
I'm getting tongue-tied right now. I'm having an old man mental blank here. There are sort of manufacturing processes in place, and you want to go in there. You want to validate those,
Gotcha.
right? So we've done a bunch of factory audits at a certain level, and we first did the audit because we were doing some manufacturing for not any of our brands, but a third party. And we needed to meet Disney requirements.
Got you.
So we're like, what does this mean? And basically, a third party comes into the factory. They walk through the factory, and they came back and
they kind of do an audit.
They basically they come in, they audit the factory for safety, manufacturing processes, and everything. And there were some minor adjustments, but effectively the factory passed immediately, and we were like, "This is incredible." So they had implemented a lot of the new water filtration systems, or all these air purifying and safety standards, and the factory had always been a great place to go. When I first went there in 2005, I was like, what am I walking into? And it was not what I expected when I first went there. And I think in large part it's because the factory is run by women.
Wow.
There is Mrs. Chen,
number one,
owns the factory. There's QC number one, quality control number one. There's Ting, 3 women who probably know more about manufacturing of skateboards than anyone else.
Wow.
Basically, they've implemented all these manufacturing processes that now meet really high standards of safety, efficiency, and obviously pollution and meeting all the standards there. So we go through these audits. We do them every 2 years, and that is a bar of itself. But then in addition to that, we started looking at, well, what are we doing? Where can we make a difference? So about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we said, you know what, let's just partner with some organizations. Right, if we can support organizations to replace some of the natural resources that we're using, let's do it. So we partnered with the National Forest Area Foundation, globally recognized organization, very large, very reputable, and basically we're basically replacing 3 trees 3 to 1.
Okay.
Wow. For every tree we take out of the ground, we're putting 3 back in, 3 back in. Working with those guys now for 4, going on our 5th year.
Oh, amazing!
That's great, and that's just basically contributing money and funds to that organization.
Gotcha.
But then recently, this year, and then the other thing that we started, honestly, about 8 years ago, was looking at a skateboard and going, all right, it's a wood skateboard, that's okay. Glue, not such a great material, right? So honestly, especially resin epoxies, right?
Yeah.
So about 8 years ago, literally 8 years ago, I was like, Eric, who's our R&D guy, so skateboarding guy, engineer, good guy. I was like, well, how do we need to work on some, is it soy-based glues or different types of glues? And we went around and none of them had the same attributes, none of them performed right. And then about two years ago, we stumbled across this company that had this glue that they put out there, and it's used in the snowboard industry and the surf industry. So we're using this Entropy Super Sap glue, which is basically it's a glue that has the same attributes as the resin epoxy that we use. So from life, strength, just in that. But the way the glue is made, it's used with biodegradable, recycled materials. The manufacturing process itself has a much lower carbon footprint than the glues that we're using, and we're like, we're all in. Let's check this out, because then just because you found something that works doesn't mean it will work.
Gotcha.
You've got to look at costing, and you got to look at how does the material work in our manufacturing process?
Right.
Because you can have an idea and it's great. Rodney's Uber board, right? We figured the Uber board out, and then it took us 1.5 years to figure out how to make more than 3 of them a day. Right? Literally. And that's what Rodney rides, and we make that board. It's a very expensive board to make, but we make that because that's what Rodney wants. So that's what we make.
That's awesome.
If that's what he wants, that's what we make, right? But it literally took 1.5 years to go from hand making those boards to actually being able to commercialize them and actually put them into a production line and actually make them. So with Super Sap, we identified it, honestly, about 2.5 years ago. Then we go through that process. And we did a soft launch around Earth Day this year where we seeded the market, and we're about to release it. Really excited about that. So there's the actual glue itself. And then we looked at it and said, you can't wrap this board in shrink wrap. Right. You can't put a bunch of inserts in this that defeats the whole purpose of the board.
Yeah.
So then we went and go, all right, we've got to figure out how do we ship these things. You have no idea how hard it is to find a brown paper bag in China that you can just put a board in. They don't exist. We've literally been told you can't find a brown paper bag.
You got to manufacture it yourself.
Yeah, paper cutting machine. Honestly, this is a weird one because you would think making a paper bag
would be
8-inch wide or 8.5 will be. We can't seem to locate. It's awesome.
Wow.
So, a weakness in our manufacturing. So anyway, we went down a different path and we found these.
We have them here.
Oh,
nice.
There we go. Look, so they come in these.
Right.
What does that say there? This bag self-destructs. So it's 100% compostable bag.
I love it.
You could use it again too.
Yes.
Yeah, no more shrink wrap.
Yeah.
Right.
And let's get rid of shrink wrap as an industry, right?
Hey,
So
and
this
this is what I was talking about, the little steps.
Yeah,
know?
so this is just one step right here. And this
Right.
to me is, it does come with an insert, but it's recycled cardboard.
There you go. There
Whoops.
you go.
So basically, none of the plastic inserts and everything. There's your skateboard.
Amazing.
And no more shrink wrap. So I think for me, shrink wrap is something. And again, take the next step.
Yeah.
Plastic.
Mm-hmm.
We just took the plastic packaging off of about pretty much every accessory item that you can ship without
So
plastic.
sick.
Wow.
I think wheels are the only ones that are left with plastic packaging.
Interesting.
And then the other thing that we need to do, because again, it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
We want to again just get we ship we sell a lot of completes or whatever, and they come in plastic bags.
Right.
The cost, this is expensive. The cost
That's what I was just
is
gonna
cost
ask.
prohibitive for us to just push completes in it. But we just reduced the bags that completes go in by 15%.
Amazing.
So-
How long does it take for those bags to break down?
We actually have some photographs of this online. If you actually go online
Ah.
to
So
Dwindle,
rad.
then there's a little thing in there about super sap and stuff. And we have pictures of this 15 days, 30 days, and 45 days
Really?
breaking down. Yeah.
Damn.
Ernie from our art department took one of these boards and just buried it in his backyard.
No way.
Dug it up, took a photograph, put it back in.
So
Wow.
sick.
Yeah. So no, it's just some fun. But
so
anyway,
go
Love
ahead,
it.
please.
so
Continue.
basically, this is
I
this is again, it's a small step, but it's a step,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
And that's what we're talking about.
and that is
here.
what
For
we're
sure.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So in dealing with the glue, the super sap, all that stuff, I mean, how was the testing period for this? Did you have to just make samples, give it to
Yeah,
writers,
yeah.
see how you? I mean, you did
That was
the
like a
whole 6
to 9 month process.
6 to 9 month.
Yeah. Of like,
process.
because you don't want to just do one batch.
No, for
you
sure.
press up 100 boards, put them out there. The writers do
Oh,
another batch.
Okay.
You know,
What was the writer? What did the writers
the
say about it?
feedback.
the same as Resin 7.
Oh,
so
sick.
same as resin
Okay.
epoxy. So for us, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it was a long journey to get here.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Pleased to be here, and
Big time.
yeah. So this is one of the things that we're doing. I think that
Incredible.
it's again for me the thing I put out there to skate shops and other manufacturers is just do one thing,
Right.
Do it right.
one step at a time. And if globally is as individuals or as companies or retailers or whatever, you do one step at a time.
Well, that one thing will turn into two things.
Yep.
Will turn into three.
Yeah. So we've taken an approach. We're actually measuring ourselves. So we've actually put out online like how much plastic we've reduced. So you can see like in this category 0 reduction in plastic so far. This category 100% reduction in plastic. So it's a goal to put out there so that we can then go. We've set a benchmark. Now how can we do better next year? And how can we do better next year?
That's
I
awesome.
love that.
So
You know,
are
it's so cool.
are all the boards made with this now, or is it just certain select and then
Select.
You okay.
We're transitioning it. So again, there's a cost impact to this.
Yes.
So we're trying not to pass all of that along, but these are a little, a couple of bucks more than a regular
I was
Resin
just gonna
7.
say,
Sure.
is it-
So
does
right
it
now,
cost more?
I'd say we've probably gone from Resin 7. This is maybe 15%, 20% of the line, and the goal would be to take that to 30%, 50%, and at some point 100% of
Rad.
the line.
That's
Love
sick.
And then we're looking at these similar manufacturing processes in other areas. We've got a new impact thing that we're working on next year, where we're
Amazing.
changing the materials up in that to be again, a little more earth friendly.
Love it, bro.
like you said, it's the steps, you
Yeah.
know, like we can get there,
Yeah.
but I think skateboarding needs some type of, sustainability
Well,
direction.
The world needs it.
Yes.
Oh, well,
yes.
The world-
100%.
The world needs
Yeah.
it, right?
But,
It's-
listen, we are an industry that skates wood,
Yeah.
trees cut down.
Well-
Like there's a lot of things, plastics, like you said, like a lot of it goes into.
Yeah,
all
well,
the
and a
stuff
lot of
that-
it goes into I think we're one of the few companies. I'll say this: there are very few skateboard companies that make skateboards.
Right. You produce your own.
There's a tiny percentage actually make skateboards.
Yeah.
And for me, that was one of the appealing things about Dwindle. It's like, well, I mean, that's like a 14-year-old's dream.
Yeah.
I had this idea. I've always wanted to do this. Please make it for me. Can I make it for you?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like
yeah.
it's pretty exciting. So, I think when you have that sort of ability, you should try to not only you want to make products that function last. But then if we can also now really take this next approach and be thinking about, all right, well then what is our impact and what is our contribution? Then you go down that road. So we're trying to do it on multiple levels. So you've got it on the just reaching out to different organizations and supporting organizations. You got to do it within the product, within the stuff that we make, and then we have a crew. We have an internal crew for our sustainability and
I love it.
Social compliance, as we call it.
Beautiful.
And it's social compliance not necessarily from a factory perspective, but just what can we be doing that is meaningful.
Yes.
Supporting Skaterstan is another thing that we do. That's very near and dear to me. There's a lot of people in skateboarding that support Skaterstan, as they should.
Yes.
For me, that's one that I've tried to make a active part of our sort of annual thought process, and not a 1-year thing.
Yeah.
Ongoing.
Right.
Right. So let's have the Skaterstan program up and running. Keep that.
Keep it going.
Let's get this going with the National Forest Area Foundation. Keep that.
Yeah.
And continue doing what you start.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this has been a lot of work, and even if it wasn't the glue, it was just getting rid of shrink wrap. That's a great step.
Yes.
It's a huge step.
Huge. Huge.
So it's awesome to hear that you guys have your own factory, but was there perks of that going into this pandemic of people are struggling getting boards? What was that like on your guys' end?
We were still struggling to get boards.
Still struggling?
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole shipping thing.
Yeah. The supply chain.
There's a whole bunch of things in that side of the business that are really rather boring but meaningful. What's going on with shipping and port delays and stuff like that has just been completely.
And they're making more money than ever right now too.
Yes.
How so?
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're charging you storage.
There's actually a new thing I was hearing about today from some of the people at work, where if you don't get your container out of the port by a certain time, they start charging you a per day fee.
Yeah, but you can't get
get your container out because there's no chassis and no trucks.
Yeah. Because all the empty containers are on chassis, and they have no room for the empty containers at the ports.
I will call it.
It's not even their fault.
It's legalized extortion.
Right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right?
I heard people are dumping them into the ocean.
No.
I heard that. I heard that
I hope
there's
not. That's not a good place to be dropping containers of.
I know.
I heard that people, if there's something in there that you're like, oh, okay, let's just get rid of that. Yeah. I've heard that.
They're dumping them in the neighborhoods too. Those fucking canisters are just
really.
After they dump them, after they get rid of it, and then the guys are not waiting to get those moved. They're just later.
No, but you asked a question there about are there advantages of having your own and I'll go back to the beginning of when Rodney and Scotty Jensen, Frank Messman, previous management, went over to China, 2001, 2001-ish, to break ground. And the advantages there was, I don't think a skateboarder had thought about building presses and manufacturing skateboards before then. And so, again, respect where it's due. Rodney and Scotty's approach to that was single deck pressing. Why would you press 5 decks in one press when you can make a press that presses 7 to 9 individually?
You have full control.
Yeah, and keeps the mold, keeps every board identical.
Sure.
And then there were all these other small things in the manufacturing process that again, going back to Rodney, perfected was just simple processes to make sure that the relationship between your truck holes and your tail, when it comes out of the presses and goes through the drilling and that whole thing, were truly staying in the position they were supposed to be. Because 2 millimeters this way, 2 millimeters that way, your board's imbalanced.
For sure.
So there was all these steps. We used to call it the 14 steps of quality control. All these 14 steps in the manufacturing of a deck that was put in place and then fine-tuned and then evolved over the last 20 years.
Right.
That there's some great wood shops out there. I think we have a great wood shop too.
There you go.
That's awesome.
It's funny, who was on the show? It was like Caballero or Hosoi. They were saying that back in the day, these skate companies would manufacture their own products. Mm-hmm. That went away. It was all third-party sourcing. Yeah. And he was like, you're not what was he saying? You're not a skateboard company.
You're not a skateboard company if you don't make your own skateboards. It was Steve Caballero.
It was
George Powell basically taught him.
George has done incredible things. And he's dealing with urethane too, which is
my goodness.
really
he's
complicated.
got incredible boards too.
As well as he's pressing. Yeah, he's again, you got hats off. He's That's awesome.
I just thought that was a funny way to look at it. I was like, oh,
well, that's what I'm saying.
interesting,
Otherwise,
you know?
you're, but again,
well, you're just a buyer and a seller.
You're a marketing company.
Yeah, yes, they're marketing. I mean, people go in and they create their own molds and they create their own shapes and all of that. But being able to, I mean, I'll take the business hat off because I'll just go back to as a skateboarder, being able to go in and like tinker, or have an idea, and it's like, that's like that for me personally is like really been some of for me the most personally satisfying things of my life is going, I had an idea and it happened. Well, and being able to do that has been like super.
And
like,
I just experienced this recently because I did a twin paddle board, symmetrical, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't go in and make my own molds or this or that. It was just like a concept, like, hey, I want a symmetrical board. I want this shape, but I don't. So they sent me like a twin tail, twin nose, and a hybrid.
I believe DSM made that board.
There you go. So for me, it was very exciting because I had never gone through any steps of creating. It was just like, what shape do you want? I like this shape. Yeah. Here's your graphic, So going through this process, I'm very proud and excited for having to, have a
it brings a different
hand in it.
It gives you a different feeling if you actually
totally,
and then you because it was your idea.
Yeah.
You're like,
well, symmetrical is not my idea, but having that,
whatever, but your specs, your shape, whatever.
Yeah, to see it come to life is beautiful.
Yeah, no, I've never done that before.
It was still your idea that came to fruition, whether it's it evolved from you. It still was your idea in the chocolate.
Yeah, I mean, Chocolate and Girl never had a symmetrical board.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is what I want. This is what I skate. We need. There's a like I'm seeing more.
You should link up with R&D people and go ride with them and.
I mean,
let them watch you and see where your feet are. And
Paul Schmidt has been asking forever to go fucking perfect my manuals.
What's is it?
Hey, you know what? Again, there's a few great people who develop products in skateboarding.
He's one of them.
He is
definitely.
You've got him. You've got Tim Pimada from NHS. You got a few people in our building. Eric's great.
I always hear a lot about Eric.
Rodney, what's that?
I hear a lot about Eric.
Eric.
I always hear his name like, dude, he did this, he's doing this, or he's testing this. I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
Well, he's also a generation below Paul and Tim, and he comes from a formal engineering background. Dude,
Eric Sentian?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Went to university, I always get it wrong when I talk about his qualifications, but, He's wizard.
Qualified.
He's a wizard.
There you go.
He's completely qualified.
He's a wizard and he skates. So he can actually go out and he can watch you.
Yes.
Right.
And rather than what you're selling him, he's actually watching you and going, oh, okay.
And gets it.
Right? Yes. And so I think that
that's important.
It's very rare to find people like that in our space.
If you're a skateboarder trying to express your feelings about what you want to someone,
right?
That's a huge.
He's a key person. For sure.
Yeah,
yeah. No, Eric. Yeah, it's he's I remember when he came to. He worked at Transworld. He was a writer, and then I think talking to him, he was like, he realized like, I'm going to be a 40-year-old man one day. Are people going to be interested in what I want to say? So then he went back to university.
Wow.
And then he went and worked at TaylorMade golf clubs.
Wow.
Which is interesting because you think I don't play golf, but if what I assume about golf, it's a feeling, right? Mm-hmm. There's a swing, there's a flex, there's a feeling, very similar to skateboarding. And he worked there, and I just called him up one day because I knew he was an engineer, and I was like, Eric, I think what I said to him was, do you miss skateboarding?
What a great leeway right there.
That was my first line to him.
Just hooked him.
So good.
And he was like, yeah, let's have dinner. So we hooked up and he's been in the business for a long time, and he's a great contributor to Dwindle, as are many people in the group.
That's
like
how
I said.
You got him over to the other side.
Yeah, well,
I love it.
I mean, again, going back to that 14-year-old self. If you're like, I can go over here and there's a factory there, and they're going to make what I ask them to do, and they're going to do this, that, and the other. It's like pretty fun.
Yeah,
so it is.
Yeah,
that's
so rad.
definitely a fun thing. So, yeah.
How'd you know you need an engineer for the job?
And honed in on that.
Yeah.
That's well, you want a skateboarder, but you also need to be able to translate your thoughts and ideas into specs, files, and the big thing is not just being able to take your idea into making one-off. It's about how do you then
mass produce it,
commercialize it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you take an idea and then go, all right, there's a ceiling to the cost. So how do we manufacture into it? And I think Where Eric came from actually was he was working at TaylorMade, and he worked in their commercialization department, which was in between the propeller heads of wild ideas and the suppliers. So he was like in that role of figuring out how do we take these ideas and move it over there.
Like
so
a perfect idea.
and then
person.
again, I can't like underplay like the experience we have over there at the factory. Again, these the line managers there and and QC number one, who again will talk to you about, through a translator, talk to you about, whatever manufacturing process, and they don't skateboard, but they listen.
Yes.
And you try to articulate the result, and off they go, and they come back, and then you play around with it, and you go through a few iterations, and you get there. And I think that we make a good, consistent board, as well as many other things.
Totally, man. And the super sap as well. But yeah, thanks for sharing all that with us, because I think it's amazing. The compostable bag.
Yeah.
I think the glue.
I think again, to touch on this, it's about just doing things in the same spirit of skateboarding. Like just do it.
Right.
Like, go for it.
What do you guys want to see yourself like 10 years from now, sustainability wise?
I'd like to have zero plastic I'd like to have, the next step for me would be to have like some really clear goals on how much waste material comes out of the factory, measure that, evaluate that, and then work on reducing that and ways to do that. So more efficient manufacturing, materials that improve like the life of a board, the performance of a board, how could it's interesting. So we make those impact light boards, big carbon fiber insert on the top. So a strange byproduct of that is you will never actually break that carbon fiber into two pieces, right? And I've seen so many people, ankle, knee injuries, land snap, splits. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I look at those boards and I go, when they do break, because everything ultimately breaks, and if you're making a board that doesn't break, it's probably not going to feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to feel right.
Right.
So when we don't but the fact they don't break into two pieces, I go, there's actual sort of a safety value there. I'm not going to talk about it because there's liability issues, and this is a litigious world we live in. But the fact of knowing that a board will never actually break into two pieces,
we split apart.
To me is like a little sense in the back of my mind. I'm not going to do the splits. I'm not going to blow my knee out in that way. So there's those. So where do I want to see products going? Something that it sounds corny, but gives value to the skateboarder that's buying it. You want to make something that they're going, hey, this is 60, 70, 80 bucks, well worth spent. You want to
give them a quality product.
It's going to last for a while.
Yeah. For sure.
I want to make good shit and have fun along the way, right?
Yep.
That's kind of like, if you can do that in life, that's a pretty good thing.
Let's do that all day.
Yeah. let's make some good stuff.
Yes.
But with the rise of like NFTs and all that stuff, like where do you see skateboarding going? Because like I imagine like skateboarding, like the art itself, whatever, is like so valuable. Like, do you see yourself like entering that like whole like virtual world at all?
Not in the short term, but over the long term, sure. I'm being completely honest. I'm so busy staring over here at this. There's no bandwidth for me to really stop.
Look over here.
There's so many opportunities out here, but again, like, we're in skateboarding. We're a fairly large organization in hard goods, but we are tight. Everyone's busy. We could certainly bring in a lot more people. I haven't, honestly, Roger, I haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
Right now. I mean, we definitely look at our artwork and go, it's a shame. I mean, there's the whole...
Because some of it is like, people are already hanging on their walls, but like it is
100%. And you know what?
Right.
There's so much, especially at Dwindle, like, man, there's some amazing artwork there. And the whole heritage thing, the reissue thing's been super fun. I mean, if you look at skateboarding, it's become really generational. And I say that, so skateboarding has like, I'm a park skater, I'm an all-terrain skateboarder, I'm a freestyler. It was always like compartmentalized. And those lines started to blur. But now it's like, within those categories, you have generations. You've got the young, my son, 10 years old, boom, down here. Then you got that like 10 to 25-year-old, the core of skateboarding, people in their, as we talked about earlier, their golden era of skateboarding. And then above that 25, you got like two brackets. You got that 25 to 35-year-old, and then you got 45 up to the 1880s, right? That goes on
yourself.
Yeah,
right?
myself.
He did park his horse outside.
Yeah. Actually, I need to go check on this.
Okay. He's parking the red zone.
Check on her in a minute. Yeah. But I think skateboarding, which is rad, is become really like generational in the sense that there's always been older people who skate, but now truly there's a scene for each generation.
Yes.
Right.
As well as where you like to ride.
For sure.
I was having a conversation with Chris Miller about this, honestly, about 7 or 8 years ago. And he's like, "This generational now, there's this." And it was when the whole influx of, when parks really became so accessible in the last decade.
Sure.
Suddenly, for the person that was working and had kids, you were able to go skate.
Right.
And I like that. I think that's awesome. So yes, it's rad to see all this heritage stuff, and then that's pulling a lot of this artwork stuff that's coming out, but there is that artwork. The heritage of skateboarding is an untapped resource that could go in a whole bunch of different directions.
Absolutely.
A whole bunch of
1000%.
different directions.
Yes.
You know?
That's art. This is art right here. You know, every
And it's
piece
great.
that goes on top, bottom of these boards is like, you know,
It's
could
incredible.
be
And then
someone
you
will
see,
follow
what,
along.
respected for sure.
you see what these guys produce
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah. And that generational thing will never end.
No, and I think it was
That's a
also,
beautiful thing.
it's to do with like where skateboarding has got,
Yeah.
you know? We have skateboarding grandparents now.
I know.
I know, right?
So
Right,
crazy.
but,
Yeah.
you know, people don't look at you sideways on a plane when they ask what you do. I work in the skateboard industry.
Yeah.
It used to be like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I work for a toy company. I'm sorry.
It's out there for a
It
So
used
I
to-
sell
downplay it
toys
like
for
it was-
45
It's
cents.
actually
Yeah.
like
It is.
It was kind of
Pretty-
easy. It was kind of easier to say that.
yeah.
I work for
Yeah.
a toy company. Yeah.
Oh my
I'm tired. Don't
goodness.
talk to me. You know.
That's amazing.
But-
Because they get it, you know?
Yeah.
I work for the world's greatest toy company.
Yeah.
But
I sell
on-
it to all ages.
Just I want to do this. I want to interject one thing here
Please.
about doing the right thing
Mm-hmm.
every now and then. There's a Jason Adams board right there, and you know Jason.
Jason
I just want to put out there. Great skateboarder.
Yeah.
He's been very honest with himself about where he's at with some, you know, personal issues,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a brave man for doing what he's doing because he's not doing it on his own. He's actually said the only way to get through this is actually to put it out there.
Right.
So I do want to not selfishly for him, please go check out the Jason Adams GoFundMe
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, help a great skateboarder.
Yeah.
$1, $5, whatever. If you feel inclined to do so.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of like you watch how skateboarders come together on so many levels.
Oh my
Straight
God.
up.
And, you know, he's going through something really tough and he's being very honest about it. And again, respect to Matt Eversole and I don't know the other guy that helped Matt set up the GoFundMe page, but thank you for doing that because I hate to see people I love and I'm close to going through a difficult time and anything we can do to help.
And
Sure.
we
I would
will
like to
put
do
a
that.
link in the description of the video below.
That
for
would be
the
great.
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
as
you know
well.
we're all about it.
We are skaters supporting skaters.
Mhm.
And Bod, it is so crazy to me because we do our experience show.
Yeah.
You know, it's like news. It's like the view for skateboarding, right? It's
Mhm.
whatever. But
Each week, dude.
the GoFundMes that I see, you know, come through the skateboarding community, and it's like it goes from like, you know, $0 to like 20,000, 40,000,
Yeah.
50,000.
Yeah.
It's
And I'm-
it's meaningful.
it is
Beautiful thing.
fucking like mind blowing and like so. It's like I'm so proud.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
touching.
To be a
you know,
part of
for
this,
Sure.
you know,
Inspiring
where
on
And
so
that's
many
when we
levels.
talk about social media and the reach and stuff. This is
Oh
one
my
of the
God.
good things on that
Yeah.
side.
Yes.
That
Big
like
time.
ability to like
to share.
Reach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is
Oh.
so yeah. I mean, and you know, and we've seen and sadly we've seen a lot of people in need in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. You know,
Yeah. Whether it's hospital bills or addiction or
Yeah.
depression, it's a
Numerous
lot of
things.
it's all over the board.
yeah. And
you
so
know?
do what feels right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do what feels right. Support what feels right.
exactly.
And you know, where we can, we should all chip in.
Definitely.
And I see it.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I'm so proud to be a part of
I
this
know.
community that really, man, listen.
I mean, another organization again, Ben Raymer's you know,
Oh, please.
Oh,
yes.
yeah, totally.
Big Ben
Big time,
Ramers.
beautiful human
Yeah.
right here, and what
That-
they're doing is just transcending
Oh, my gosh.
what they're doing because I mean, not only are they doing a fantastic job of creating awareness and education programs and actually doing something so simple but meaningful, like reaching out to everybody that's involved on the skateboarding business side of things, involved with ride. It's like, yes, Same way, you know, it's almost like most filmers out there should be, you know, take a basic course in first aid.
Right.
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 But also, anyone involved in the brand management side in riders should be really listening and learning from what they're doing.
Yeah.
In, you know, the world is changing. I feel like a lot of the sort of, you know, these mental issues that people are dealing with now, there's so many pressures, and social media brings a different set of pressure, you know, all these things. And so, you know, I don't know if we just see it nowadays or hear about it more, and maybe it was happening more, but it seems like the world we live in now is creating a lot of stress for people, and some people just aren't built to deal with it.
Straight up.
Right.
And so the more we can do to pay close attention
and talk about it.
If you see signs,
and talk about it,
to be aware to reach out or say something.
No, but again, what a couple of the brand managers from what, you know, went to some of the seminars and courses, and what they've learned, I can tell you right now, has been implemented, has been used, has helped people.
Yeah, we're actually about to take
You know?
a course,
Great.
suicide prevention stuff
Yep.
from the Ben Ramers
Excellent.
Foundation. Yeah.
Well, a couple of the people at work have done that, and,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that they got great positive things out of
Amazing.
that. And so, skateboarders, stick together, support
Yeah,
one
yeah.
another, and, you know, where we can.
It's a tough thing because I think even just being a human being, we don't know how to deal with that. You know, if you came up to me and said, "Listen, I'm having this trouble," I don't know that I would have the tools or the knowledge to know how to deal with that.
But even being
You
able
know?
to come up and ask you, "Are you okay?"
Right.
So many people don't do that.
Right.
That's the most important thing.
And the
Right.
first thing
Yeah.
is just to actually reach out and be like, "Yo," like,
Yeah.
and see the signs, because there is. I mean, trust me, man.
Well, especially if you see the signs that is
Right.
any type of like alarming to you to like, you know,
Yeah.
think it's appropriate to say something.
And
Say
again,
something.
you know, looking back, obviously, to you know, during, you know, after Ben's passing,
Mm.
Yeah.
the last person that the majority, unless you were very, very close in his circle, the last person that you thought that would have,
Right.
you know, been going through what he was going through.
Right.
So
Very
let's not
important.
miss the signs
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
sure.
You know?
Yes.
if we can. Do our best.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we are such a strong, tight-knit community, you know,
Very
and
much
I
so,
love
yeah.
to see that. And
Yeah.
again, I'm proud to be in it and be a part of it and talk to people like yourself who have been blood, sweat, and tears put into it. And, you know, ever since your horse-drawn
Cart pulled up.
buggy
But,
pulled up.
but lucky.
lucky
like I
as
said,
well.
Yeah.
As well,
Like,
yes.
I'm not
It's-
like you don't take it for granted. Work, you know,
Right.
you
You've worked hard to be in this position, though, bud. Like, don't.
Well,
take
no,
that
no,
for
no.
granted.
I appreciate that.
Lucky, but to a degree, it's been off.
It's what you do with that.
hard work.
You
Exactly.
get an opportunity, like
Exactly.
you get an opportunity, and then where do you take it?
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Right?
go.
Right.
Skateboarding, is you know, your skateboard in front of you will take you where you decide
Oh, yeah.
to let it take you.
But
you
it's
know?
an interesting thing because once you get into the business side of skateboarding, there's so much that goes. It's you have to make money. You have to do this
You have
stuff.
to-
It's
yeah. There's different sets of different not rules, but there are sort of rules that guide your decisions. That you have a different.
Yeah.
There's different influencing factors.
but you love it
Right.
so much that you really try to do the right things and
I've seen people get involved in
support-
work in skateboarding and really not like it. And be like, you know what, this is kind of ruining this special thing for me.
Yeah.
Right.
And off they go. That's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
Right? That's fine. But I think for me, being involved, for me, I would rather be doing it with skateboards than,
Toy trucks.
Not
Hula
skateboards.
hoops.
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you have a bad day, right? You have a terrible day because it happens.
Oh my God.
Shit day.
Trust me.
Shit day. I have a rule. I get in my car, and if I've had a really bad day, I'll go, all right. And I think about a photograph or a rider or something in skateboarding, and I always go, that's
That's why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's the reason to keep going on, because you enjoy it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If you had no emotional connection, I don't want to go. That's not a good.
No,
way
it's
to go. That's
amazing,
not a good way to
dude.
go through life, really. Is
No.
it?
No, it's amazing to
No.
go back and look at something when you were a kid and how going back to that feeling, right, that you
Yeah.
had where you're like, oh, my, discovering something new and what it created for you. It's incredible.
Well, like I say, there are people I meet that I still turn into a
Yeah.
quiver because I'm just looking up to him and I'm like, you. Like,
When's the last time that happened?
Probably when you walked in this door.
Oh my God, that's Chris Roberts.
I don't know. No, there's a couple of people. No, for me, like, Richard Novak.
Okay.
Oh wow, yeah.
And I worked in the same building closely there for many years, but I still look and I go, I remember being like 8 and 9 years old and seeing there's a Santa Cruz. I don't even know what model it was. And then years later I go, that's the dude.
Wow.
Right.
He made that. And I go back to that feeling that board had, that gave me, you know what I mean?
That's
Which
awesome.
is just...
Hey,
I don't
that's what's crazy is that you do that for kids now. Like you create like building these brands and what you guys are doing. You're creating that exact feeling for kids now, which is incredible.
Well, yeah. And I think my job nowadays more and more is to allow the people below me to do that, and I just make sure they have the tools to do it.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
You're like looking over all these things, that's making all these brands like aware of these kids that are just like, wow. This
You're
is
helping
amazing.
to facilitate it all.
Yeah. No. It's a. How did I end up here,
It's a
man?
beautiful
Jesus,
thing.
like how did this happen?
It's a
Also
beautiful
trying
thing.
to have their best interests, you know what I mean? Like in this whole process, you know what I mean? You're really trying to look out for their best interests.
I try to, and again, you can't have 100%
Of course not. It's-
strike rate. You know, there are mistakes that you make along the way. Sometimes things don't work out
Totally.
as planned, right? But I try to.
Yeah.
Everyone in the company does.
I love it.
Team effort.
It's a team, bro. It's a team.
It's a remote team nowadays.
That is
We're
so
all on
true.
Zoom meetings all day long.
Bro,
Does it seem to be
no.
working out? How's that working out for you guys? Like, I mean, overall, everybody's adapted, but how's
Incredible.
it working for
Like
you guys?
it's really completely changed my perspective
Crazy,
on
man.
work.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are more productive?
Certain people, 100%.
Certain people.
No. I'd say on the creative side of it, marketing, artwork.
That's what I've heard across the
They
board.
are. Who wants to spend 2 hours a day in a car? We live in LA.
I know.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then 6 hours in a cubicle.
And then an hour talking about frivolous nonsense with your friends for no reason.
True.
But I mean, don't
That's
get me wrong.
the social part of it.
Don't get me wrong. You tend to miss those things too. So there's like it's
Give
a
and take.
Give and take. Yeah, for sure.
I think we're going to go back to there'll be an office.
2 days?
We actually don't even have an office right now.
Oh wow.
We actually moved out of our office last June.
Oh, wow.
What?
We're going to take a lease on in October. But we're
So wait, there's no building at all.
there's no Dwindle building.
There's
right?
no
Wow.
building to go to.
There's a warehouse,
Okay.
finance, ops, warehouse that way. But from sales, marketing, product development, we moved out of our building last June. I'm literally just right now about to hopefully get a place back down in El Segundo in the next month or so. And we'll go in and we'll be probably 2 days a week,
Okay.
mandatory.
Okay.
But there's an office there 7 days a week if you want to come in.
Wow.
We're on your schedule. But
Amazing.
2 days a week where we can cross over. I think we'll do Tuesdays and Thursdays so we can miss Monday and
There
Friday.
you go. Look at that. See, I already like your thought process.
No, I've got
Hangover
it.
friendly.
And I think that, it's friendly on many levels.
This is why he's in
Straight up.
charge. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And-
Straight up.
well, it's not just my decision. We listen to, I'm sort of driving, but the group,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, hey, what some people are like 1 day a week. I was like,
Right.
let's start at 2.
There you go.
Let's start at 2. But you know what? Again, respect to the crew. They've all been hustling, doing their thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Working and yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Bod Boyle. Doing your thing.
Yes, big time.
Contributing to skateboarding, bro.
In many
Many
ways.
levels.
Yeah.
Many
Yeah.
levels.
Living and breathing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God you didn't go back to London, man. You know.
Who
Yes.
knows? What would I be doing now?
Right?
I don't know. Could have been a.
Be working
You
on
would
a skate
have. You would
with
have
the
adapted, bro. No matter what,
Yeah.
you would have adapted.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would be doing.
Could have been a cabbie out there. You know. Black cabs.
Hey.
What are they called? Do they have a name? They have a name, right?
Black cabs.
Oh. Okay. All right. Listen, Bob,
Yeah.
this has been incredible, bro.
Cool.
I
Straight up.
thoroughly enjoyed
Okay.
talking
I
to you,
appreciate
listening
that.
to your
Yes,
stories and stuff
definitely.
like that, man. Beautiful. Thank you for doing what you do in skateboarding. Can we give you a couple nightclub things to take home with you? Little
Sure.
souvenirs, so to
Sure.
speak, maybe.
Yeah.
Some swag.
No, and then I'll say one thing too.
Please,
Just again,
please.
certain people along my way
Mm.
that just I have to always say thank you.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was, you know, Crispin and Sam at the very beginning, my first skate buddies. You know, Steve Douglas, who just gave me so much motivation. Joel at Sessions.
Mm.
I was raking leaves to pay rent.
Amazing.
Raking leaves.
Yeah.
I didn't care. Joel at Sessions was great. Bob, Tim, Novak, NHS, Paul, Johnny, Giant,
Yeah.
Matt Hill, the Hill brothers, all of them, Steve, Peter, Matt, and Gary Valentine, And then, now working, under new ownership and stuff. So, shout out to Nick and stuff. Like, just, I'm in charge of my business, but there are also other people along the way that have helped facilitate.
For sure.
So I just always want to say thank you to those guys.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing,
And my mum.
Hey.
My
There
mum.
you go.
I always think your mom.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My mum. Do you know what? I remember calling her up. It was a Monday night, and I was supposed to be flying home the next day.
Uh-oh. Thank you, Kelly.
And I called my mum up. Oh, wow. Tea mug, not a coffee mug.
No, tea. Well, if you have... Okay, go
I
ahead.
drink
Sorry,
tea
I'm sure.
7 and 4:30 every day. Tea.
Okay.
There we go.
But I remember I called my mother up. It was on a Monday night. I was supposed to fly home on Tuesday. I've been here for 6 months. My visa was up. Fly home the next day. And I was like, no, ain't going home. And Steve had called me and said, hey, skate camp. You got a place to live. You can come here. 6 weeks. Food is given to you. They give you money. and it's a place. The next 6 weeks I know
I'm saving.
Yeah, exactly. So no. So I called my mum up and she was like, hey, Hugh, because that's my name, right? You're going to come home tomorrow. I can't wait to see you. And I'm like, well, and she's all, what? And I go, I'm not coming home. So first thing she's like, well, do you have a place to stay? I go, yep, I'm good for 6 weeks. Do you have money? I go, not today, but I will in a week.
Perfect.
And then the last question she asked, which for me was like the freedom, was like, she just goes to me, are you enjoying yourself? Right? And this was before you could really make money in skateboarding and all that.
Yeah.
And I always look at that and she like let me go. And so I have to give big respect to my mum for letting it go and like not like just run with it, right?
Yep.
In the spirit of skateboarding.
Yeah.
See where it takes you.
It's a beautiful thing, man. We all want to enjoy ourselves, and do what we love to do.
Enjoy life.
Enjoy life.
Wait, real quick. You said your name is Hugh?
Yeah.
Where did Bod?
Yeah, where's
Hugh
Bod?
Boyle. Hugh Bod Boyle.
You can Google Bod, right? It's an English cartoon from the 70s. And the opening line is this little music, and he's like walking along. And it says, here comes Bod. And when I was younger, I was like 8 or 9 with a bunch of 15, 16-year-olds skateboarding or at school following, and they were always like, here comes Bod.
little guy. Little dude
hanging out.
Trying to hang out with the older dudes.
Yeah.
Then it's stuck.
And here
we are.
I like it. It's a good name,
Yeah.
Bod Boy. Works out perfect.
It is. It is.
Rolls
This
off
is
the
why
tongue.
this is how we know
the
him.
only people that called me Hugh were my mum,
Yeah.
dad, obviously, but Jake Phelps, rest in peace,
Oh.
and Jason Fairs. Do you remember Jason Fairs?
Mm-hmm.
Old Thunder team
Oh,
manager.
yeah.
Hugh.
Hugh.
Wow.
Anyway, whatever.
No, listen, Hugh.
History.
Respect.
Listen, Hugh.
Thank you for having me here.
Listen.
The oldest,
Let's put this over here for
the
now.
oldest interview ever on the night.
No, it's been
No,
great.
we have Ballsman on here.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
For sure.
Yeah,
for
for
sure. Just a couple things really quickly before you leave. We got a couple new items here. Here's a 1,000 shirt. Dubs always coined the term 1,000.
Yeah.
Said it on the show about 50...
Correct size?
Probably
572
65.
times.
Yeah, a lot.
1,000 times.
1,000 times.
Yeah.
That's a good.
We also have our shirt. Hold on, bro. Skaters supporting skaters.
Oh, nice.
It's
Yes.
our
But
slogan. our
that
tag.
ties right into what we were talking about
Yeah,
there. Skaters
man.
do need to support skaters.
We do, and I think for the most part, I think it's a very high percentage
Yes.
Yeah.
that do. You
Yeah.
know, I
Comes
think
with
it's
the
great.
territory,
Also here's your tea mug. You know what I'm
tea
saying?
mug,
So what'd you say?
absolutely.
7
There it
and 4.
When I wake up and around about 5 actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the nice things about working from home. I walk over and I make tea.
Is that beautiful?
I love it.
What do you do? PG tips.
PG tips.
Okay. Perfect.
Beethoven Market,
Little
man.
bit
Full
of-
English
yeah.
section
Oh,
across the street
beautiful.
from my house, man.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
And also Roger's Morning Wood. Here you go. There's a candle for
Why
you.
not?
Yeah, sandalwood and some other
I like a
fragrances.
morning
in
glory.
It's a
there.
good stiff stance.
Smell. Wow, there you go.
Ah. It's a potent sense.
Leave it to leave it to Raj.
another good
It's
one.
got a wood wick on it too.
A wood
by the
wick.
way. Yeah.
Right.
Smells great.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's good stuff. Man.
Also, well, appreciate
Bod, listen.
Thank you, Bod.
Yes,
Thank you for what you
brother.
do, bro. And also, hey, come back anytime. I'd love to
Yes.
have you back. Stop and Chat's always available. Come back in.
Cool.
I love talking shop,
Yeah.
because a lot of the times we don't. It's all about skateboarding, But it's the skaters, the filmers, but I love the industry talk. I mean, there's so much to it. There's so much that goes into it.
Hey, Bod, what do you think is missing from skateboarding right now?
Ooh, gosh, that's a big,
that is a big
deep
question.
What is missing from skateboarding
Like,
right
as
now?
a brand or whatever. Like, what does a brand want to see happen?
Oh my God.
Damn, we've stumped
Do
him.
brands speak to everybody?
No.
Do brands
will.
speak
They
to
never
everybody? Do you want a brand that speaks to everyone? I don't know. Because we're this big thing of skateboarding, but then we're like so subdivided. It's like music, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's like 19 different versions of metal. You go heavy metal, and it's like
I don't think there is.
Is there a brand?
A brand that can really speak to everybody, or is there a brand that
Maybe
can,
there
really?
is.
I don't
Maybe
think there
you
is.
haven't seen
I
it
don't
yet.
think there
I
ever
don't
will be.
Maybe there will.
No, there's some that speak more than others.
Yes.
But like,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, what does skateboarding need is such a deep question. I think I don't think
Like
it's
something
what I
that's
don't
missing
think
that could like help you, like your brand.
I'm going to
itself.
reverse this question on you, Roger, because as I like to say, I think everything in the world that's meaningful comes from skateboarding. And I more think of it, what does the world need to learn from skateboarding brands and the skateboarding community and the spirit of skateboarding, and that come one, come all, drop into a city as a stranger, you can actually connect with someone even if you can't speak their language.
Right.
So I look at it the other way around. I think the world has a lot to learn from skateboarding.
Straight up.
yes,
I
that's
agree.
true.
I
And
agree. Especially from a camaraderie standpoint, like if I go to Europe and I see a person with a skateboard, I feel so comfortable just to go up to that person and be like, "Hey, dude, like, where can I find my Lear skate shop? I need to get a board." You know what I mean? Like,
that exists.
Check Google.
So that I would say, yeah.
well, obviously, but I'm just saying from a right there in an instance. Yeah, I can obviously can Google anything.
So I don't know if it's what skateboarding needs, because I think what I don't think skateboarding truly needs things. I think skateboarding evolves itself and it provides for itself. It brands come in, things change, and it's usually led by skateboarders
Right.
who are feeling or connected on a certain level, just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a place for us, that sort of more established distribution house, global reach, or whatever. Just like there's a place for that kid who has an idea and a couple of $100 to buy some boards.
Right.
So there's a place for everybody. That's what skateboarding needs. Let's keep. It's going to keep evolving.
Keep minimums low.
And it keeps moving. What's that?
Keep minimums low.
Minimums are low. Well, actually not, but they are on some aspects. But
I think one thing that maybe
the barrier to entry is low, so you can get
Right.
you can. I know that wood supply has been very hard the last year, but what goes up must come down,
No
There you
doubt.
go.
Straight up.
and we will adjust and keep going. And there's room and space for people and great ideas, creative people, interesting people,
Yeah.
talented skateboarders will always prevail and keep going.
Yeah.
What were you
So-
saying? What were you saying, Kelly?
I was just gonna say that skateboarding maybe just what it needs is more of like what you guys are trying to do, like with the actual world, the globe,
Yeah.
of like doing those steps.
Yeah, that would be awesome if we could get like a global acceptance to not be too worried about a scratched graphic because it didn't have shrink wrap on it. I mean, what's going to happen to that board the second it walks out the door?
Yeah.
Is it really a second?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
so
yeah.
I think there's certain things there that we can recalibrate the expectations on a certain level. That would be great. That would be good.
Definitely. That would be huge.
Skateboarding will go where skateboarding wants to go. And it's usually led by skateboarders.
Yeah.
Right.
As soon as
That's
skateboarding's
true.
not led by skateboarders,
We're fucking up.
that's
Yeah.
when it.
Yeah, we made a wrong turn somewhere.
Straight up.
Like if bowlers start
Yeah.
bringing skateboarding somewhere.
I don't think
you know?
we'll see that.
Yeah.
I think there's so many tight knitted skaters that love it so
We're
much.
going down a whole
to
nother
let-
rabbit hole here, which is really
to
interesting.
let it go
because-
like that.
No, but there's always people coming in from the outside.
Straight up.
Always people
And we let them
in.
come in sometimes because they have money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if you think I had this whole
Yeah. to a
really
degree.
deep, philosophical, ongoing, never-ending conversation with my buddy Yogi. He's a really talented artist, creative person. But he sits there and he says that skateboarding, you have the skateboarding industry, right? It's shoes, clothing, it's this big. But the skateboarding industry, hard goods, not the mass stuff, but the skateboarding industry is, if this is skateboarding, the actual hard good industry is like
tiny.
Right.
And then we follow rules. We do certain things. So,
and they're like unwritten rules.
have we missed the opportunity? Maybe we have. Maybe we haven't. Maybe we're happy with where we are because we're running our businesses as to
The way we know how.
the way we need to. So I don't know. I don't. Man, that's a broad question, Roger. You know that's another 2 hours right there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Roger loves those questions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just trying to be future-proof ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to reverse it and go, the world needs to look at skateboarding.
Yeah.
Now that we have all these eyes on skateboarding, what do we do with it?
We tried it. Well, we tried it. Roger, man, you're coming at me. I know.
Yeah.
I think we have an obligation to try and make sure we're presenting it in a pure manner.
Right.
Yeah, organic way.
But then we get into that and you go, well, what is
Pure.
pure? Because what certain people are doing now is very different from other people.
Yeah.
Like Sky Brown,
Yeah.
been involved with Dwindle for many years. She's incredible as a human. Skateboarder, sure, but you know, she's taking a path and it's all about just riding. You know what I mean? And some people may look at that and say, oh, it's mainstream and this, and I go, you should actually stop and talk to her. She's
Right.
like, what sparks her is progression, is going skating, is you know what I'm
It's
saying?
in her, the fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
Pushing the envelope.
yeah, progressing it, man. Like,
At such a young age too, and so like
Yeah.
focused
And not just
on
for
what the fuck
skateboarding,
she's
but for, like,
doing,
women
you know?
alone.
oh,
For
skate,
sure, for sure.
yeah, but you know what? It's more, the relationship we have with Skaterstan is in large part because of Sky, who at 7 years old was like,
Pushing the envelope.
Went to
It's so
Cambodia.
amazing.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was, and then just that awareness of not herself, the awareness of like, I actually can do this to help other people
Right.
at such a young age. Was
Right.
really interesting to me.
Bigger, yeah, it's bigger than her, and
Really-
she acknowledged it. That's
Really
crazy.
interesting.
That is crazy.
Really interesting there to see that in such a young person, just seeing, you know, what they can actually do.
It's incredible.
It is. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. A lot of people just think about themselves.
That's what I was just gonna say. As a kid too, like you're just thinking about like, what am I gonna do today? This is
I know.
my day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
right?
to step out of yourself to see someone in her.
I think
40 years
it's
from now, we'll
amazing,
be like
beautiful.
checking the ballot, being like, "Oh, President Sky Brown." Yep.
who knows, man?
Yeah,
that's
you
for
never
real.
know.
Yeah,
You know,
for real.
I mean, the other thing
actually.
that we say, what does skateboarding need, is already happening. And when I was talking about that generational thing, you know, there's a scene, brands, products for everyone.
Yeah.
And skateboarding always used to be like, it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 18, 20. I know more than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And which is, and that still lives there, right there, and it should. But everyone can have that. I go, nah, you don't know more than me. I know more than you.
Right.
But in my scene, you know, I'm
Yeah,
in my universe, my world. You know.
For sure. For sure.
Anyway, I think my horse outside needs some water.
What's the horse's name?
Go check on him.
Penelope?
Penelope.
Ooh, we know that one.
Yeah, we know, we know
Great
some
name.
Penelopes.
Penelope,
We know some
yeah.
Penelopes.
So
Bod,
part.
thank
All right.
you so much.
Awesome.
Bod.
Thanks for this stuff, and this will
course.
get good use.
Oh, bro.
Absolutely.
Please, just Instagram it.
We got more than
We got photo
I
incentives.
try to stay off of.
We do
of
photo
all that.
incentives.
Well, now you have more than one now, huh? Because you had just one before.
One what?
You had one teacup. You said it with
No, I have a bunch of mugs,
I mean, I was just.
but I have tea twice a day.
Oh, there you go.
Go get him another mug, Kelly.
No.
What?
One mug a day. I clean
No,
it.
just
I wash
one. Oh, you wash it?
it. I have a favorite mug.
What's your favorite mug?
It's actually a mug I got in Korea. Wherever I would go, I'd buy a mug. That's my thing.
Oh, is it?
Nice.
You're one of those.
My
okay.
Korean mug.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Sometimes
Well,
there's something
hopefully
about it.
you have a brand new
We'll see.
favorite.
I'll let you know.
mug.
I'll let you
Yeah.
know how this.
Is that made in Korea right there?
Good. Yeah,
Look at the
maybe
bottom.
It's,
I think we're in
Korean.
China.
I gotta have my glasses on. I can't read it. Made in China.
Oh,
Ah,
Made in China,
Boom.
printed in Miami.
there you go.
Yeah. Single deck press though. I mean,
They-
single mug press.
Single mug.
there you go.
Single mug press. Bod, thank you
All right.
so much.
Yeah.
Cool guys. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Bye, Hugh.
Word up.